Hi, this is Alimayo Arango of littleguycgi.com, and today I want to show you how to make a Griffin inside of Blender 2.75a. So let's get started. Okay, if this is your first time in Blender, I recommend you go to File, User Preferences, go to Input, and then choose Select with left click. Blender's default select is with right click, and this may confuse you if you're coming from Adobe or other 3D programs. Also, while you're in here, if you go to add-ons, make sure you have a check mark where it says 3D view and 3D navigation. And you also want to make sure that you have check marks right here where it says mesh F2, mesh inset polygons, mesh loop tools, and mesh relax. Okay, when you start off in Blender, you typically start off in object mode. In object mode, you move entire objects around. To actually change your objects, you click here and select edit mode. While in edit mode, you can change your object by manipulating it by selecting vertices, edges, and faces, and just pulling and pushing these in different directions, and typically extruding faces is how your model actually comes about. To navigate the view in Blender, you can hold your middle mouse button, and this will let you rotate your screen. Typically, what I like to do now is if you look here, where you see it says this navigation, this is a navigation tab. If you select these buttons here, you can quickly switch between front, back, left, right, top, bottom. And I'll just select here to go back to front. And I like these just because you typically have your mouse right here. It's very easily just to reach over here and switch your view, and then hold the middle mouse button just for fine adjustments. Okay, for this tutorial, we're actually going to be using a reference drawing. So I'm going to click here, go back into object mode. I'm actually going to select front right here. And what I'm going to do now is with this cube selected, I'm going to press the H key to just temporarily hide the cube. If I press Alt H, the cube comes right back. I'm just going to press H again to rehide it. Okay, so to bring the reference image into Blender, what we're going to do is press the N key, and then our properties panel pops up. We're going to scroll down. We're going to see where it says background images right here. You're going to put a check mark here. You're going to click this arrow. As soon as I click this arrow, this will open up this panel. And scroll down a little bit more. Now we select add image. I'm going to scroll down a little bit more because you can see that each time I click, it opens up a little bit more. What we're going to do now is we're just going to select here where it says open and go towards our image. If you click this button here in Blender, you can actually see what you're looking at as far as like having an image. Like you can see the image of the image of the drawing here. So I'll just click here and I'll select open image. Now when I selected open image, you still can't see the image, right? The reason why you can't see the image is because we're in front perspective. To see the images that come into Blender that are set up as background images, you need to be in orthographic view. So if you look right here, if you're ever wondering what view you're in, we're in front perspective view. Now if you look right here, see this says view/ortho. We can select this button and this will take us back and forth between perspective and orthographic view. So I'm just going to click here, and now you can see there goes the drawing right there. Orthographic view is kind of like a blueprint view, like your view is exactly straight on and straight off, which tends to be very useful for modeling. Okay, once you have this image in, then you want to set up your view for what's the main view that you're going to be using this for. I mean, you can actually have a one image set up for front view and side view, top view, all the different views. We're mainly going to be using the side view, so you see we're in front ortho. So that's not the view that we want to be in. So what we're going to do is select right. And now the view is set up the correct way. However, when we go back to front view, we still see the image here. And I prefer that the image just correlates with the view that we're actually going to use it on. And it's actually useful to know this next tip for when you have multiple images set up. So I'm going to select right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down. You can see here's our image there, right? You can see the name of it here. See, it says access all views. We click here, and then we'll select right view. Now, when I did that, what that did was when I go to right view, you'll see the image, but when I select front, you won't see the image. Okay, now that we have this view in Blender, there's certain things we can do to it. When the image comes in, it's at 0.5 opacity, so it's basically half. You can only see half of the opacity. So if you click this up to 1, you'll see the view all the way. Just, I'm just letting you know about this in case you want to do it. Actually, having it around 0.5 actually tends to work out fairly well. Another thing that we can do, actually something new that came out with Blender 2.75, is that you can actually flip this image. So if I select here, it flips the image, and that's just very cool. You can also select here, and this will flip the image so it's upside down. Just neat stuff to know. Typically when you bring in an image, what you want to do, particularly when you're dealing with multiple views, see this line right here, you want to use this line. So typically if I have some kind of creature come in, or vehicle or whatever, I'll put the image, when I'm using a reference image, I'll put the feet or the wheels right on this line right here. So I'm going to drag this out. I'm just hovering my mouse over here. That allows this, little arrow thing to pop up, which lets you pull this out. Anyway, if I select X, I can move this image to the left or to the right. So I'm just going to actually move it a little bit to the right. Now what I'm going to do is move this image up so that it's sitting right here on that line right there. So I'm going to select right here and just pull to the right, and I'm just going to set that right on that line there. Okay, something else you can do is you can also make the image bigger or smaller. You can also rotate it. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, so I'm just going to pull to the right. And now the image is, it's not set up. I want to push this back up. So I'm going to pull to the right here. So now I'm just going to, I'm done with the settings for right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the N key to take away that menu. Then I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button just to pan my view down. And now I'm going to press Alt H to bring back our cube. Okay, so what we're going to do now is make sure we have our cube selected, and then we're going to click here and go into edit mode. Okay, now that we're in edit mode, what we're going to do is we're going to position this cube just by taking this thing right here. This is your manipulator, so we're just going to pull up here. Now what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to see through this cube so that we can actually see the drawing behind it. So to do that, we're going to press the Z key, and then this menu pops up, and then we're going to go to wireframe. Oh, and by the way, when I press Z and you saw that circular menu pop up, if you have pressed Z or a button and you don't see that popping up, you go to user preferences, scroll all the way down, and just make sure you have a check mark next to user interface pie menus official, and you'll see that circular kind of menu pop up that I like a lot. It's not necessary for you to use it, but I like it a lot. Okay, one thing to be aware of is because we're in right orthographic view, it looks like this is just a plane. However, we know that this is a cube, and if I hold the middle mouse button and turn to the side, we can see that this is actually a 3D cube. I'm going to select right here to go back to right view. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press B for box select. I'm just going to select these two vertices right here, and you can see I have vertices selected right here. I'm just going to take this manipulator and push this over. A lot of times when we go to rotate something, we need to rotate on an axis just so we have total control. However, when we're in orthographic view, we can press rotate, and the vertices, edges, or faces that we're trying to rotate will rotate according to our view. So we're fine with pressing just rotate now. Now, one of the things that's important about realizing that this is a cube is if I hold the middle mouse button and show you, you can see here's the 3D object that we're dealing with. I'm going to select here to go back to right. If I press S to scale, right? Scale this down, take the manipulator and push it up. It looks like, I'm going to press S to scale a little bit up. It looks like it's what we want as far as having, this vertice be here and this vertice. However, because I pressed S to scale without an axis, what it did was it shortened this, and it also lessened the width of this, which is not what we want. So I'm going to select right. I'm going to press Control Z to go back, Control Z again to go back, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Oh, but I didn't have to do that last step. So I'm going to press Control Shift Z, actually takes you forward instead of back. What we're going to do now is we're going to press S to scale on the Z axis. And yet it does change our shape a little bit. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis again. I'm going to just roll my mouse without a zoom in. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press B to box select. I'm just going to pull this in slightly. Then I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom out. I'm going to press A to deselect. And now when I hold the middle mouse button and turn to the side, you can see that we have it in the shape that we want, but we didn't lose any of the width, which is what we want. We just want to be in control of what we're doing. So I'm going to select right to go back to this view again. Okay, I just noticed that my screen capture keys, for whatever reason, were showing Control and Alt and whatever button or action I was doing for about the last, I think, approximately 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So, just be aware. I don't know what was going on. Something might have been pressing my keyboard. However, the screen capture keys should show right now. This is a new screen capture key that I've been trying out so far. I like it. Anyway, we're going to make sure we're on vertice select. I'm going to press B for box select. I'm going to draw around these two vertices here. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis. I'm going to take the manipulator and push down. I'm going to take the manipulator and push out. We're just going right to the edge of this leg right here. Okay, I'm going to hold shift in the middle mouse. Whoops. I'm going to hold shift in the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to select right to go back to right view. And what we're going to do now is we're going to put a loop cut right here just to, come down to this piece right here. To put a loop cut in, we're going to press Control R. You can see our loop cut, right there. There's our preview. I'm going to left click once. When I left click one time, I can move this loop cut up and down. So I'm going to move it slightly. Then I'm going to left click the second time, which totally locks it in. To get to loop cuts besides Control R, if you have some kind of issue with that, if you go to Tools, if you scroll down and you select here where it says loop cut and slide, and then just move your mouse over your model or your mesh, you'll get the same thing pretty much as pressing Control R. Okay, I'm going to go back to our navigation tab. I'm going to press R to rotate, and we don't have to worry about the axis for now because we are in orthographic view. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis. To scale, we do have to worry about the axis, but not the rotate for now. And I'm just, see what I'm doing? You can see, like, here's the line of the back, right? So basically what I'm doing is I am ignoring the wings for now. And I'm just focused right on this right here. Okay, so since we have this here, now we can see we want to get this right here. So what we're going to do is, actually I'll do it this way. I'll go to Tools. We're going to put a loop cut right in here. We'll go to Tools. We'll scroll down and we'll go to Loop Cut and Slide. Select there. And now you can see when I move my mouse over here, there's our loop cut preview. Is that purple line right there. I'm going to left click once, left click again to totally lock in. Now I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis. I'm just going to pull this up some. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press B for box select just to grab these two vertices. See, it looks like we're grabbing one vertice. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button. We're actually grabbing two. That's why you want to do box select instead of just selecting. So with both of those vertices, even though it looks like we have one, I'm going to push down here. Okay, I'm going to put one more loop cut just to get this right here. So I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press Control R, and then I move my I press Control R. I didn't press anything else. So you see, if I move like this way, it'll give me a loop cut that way. If I move up, see how it switches up? Just so you know what's going on as far as those loop cuts. I'm going to left click once to lock in. That allows me to slide those loop cuts. I'm actually going to slide a little bit to the side. Then I'm going to left click the second time to totally lock in. Now I'm going to press S to scale in the Z axis. I'll press Control R. I'll put another loop cut. Left click to lock in. Left click to totally lock in. I'm going to press A to deselect. Press B for box select. Because remember, we want to grab the two vertices, not the one. I'm going to press, go back to the navigation tab, select right to go right back, and I'm just going to push this down. You can see what we're doing is we're just, trying to follow the reference drawing right here. It doesn't have to be exact, but it's a guide. Okay, I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to move our cursor here. We're going to press Control R to put a loop cut in. I just move. See how, again, it's like you move one way. It's like, hey, it's not going out right. Just move it up. There it goes. I'm going to left click again to totally lock it in. And I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press B to box select. I'm just going to take the manipulator and push these two vertices down. And I'm also thinking about the leg is going to come out of here. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press B for box select. Press A. Again, just want to make sure I have those two when I should. And press A to deselect. I'm actually going to press B for box select here. Move this over slightly. Okay, so now we're going to press A to deselect. We're going to hold Control, hold the right mouse button, and draw a lasso around these, what looks like two, but is actually four vertices. We're going to press E to extrude. Then we're going to press R to rotate. Take the manipulator and pull them into the side. Now, typically when you scale, it's easy to scale up and down because you can just scale on the Z axis, or to scale, from left to right because you can scale on the Y axis. However, when you have an angle, it gets a little bit more difficult. So if I scaled here to get this down, then we would lose a little bit of our width. Not that it's that big of a deal. I just like to be in control. So what we can do instead of scaling is we'll just press A to deselect. We'll press B for box select. And we'll just grab this and pull it in like that, So we're going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press hold Control, hold the right mouse button, and do a lasso select again. And then press E to extrude. Bring this up like this. I'm going to press R to rotate. Left click to lock in. Pull this end to the side a little bit. Actually, I'm going to push this down a little. I'm going to press A to deselect. B for box select. I'm going to grab these, what looks like one, but two vertices there. By the way, you guys that watch these tutorials, that leave comments, thank you for the comments. A lot of times as I go through these tutorials and I try to say every shortcut. I try to say, repeat the shortcuts over and over again. And it's definitely tedious. Sometimes people will come and they'll say, "Oh, why do you say the same thing over and over again?" And there was a guy, a viewer of this channel, Simon Says, and he really left me a comment, encouraged me to keep going, keep doing the tutorials this way. So I hope you guys, appreciate the shortcuts, and thanks for even sitting here watching this video. Anyway, I'm gonna hold Control, hold the right mouse button, and select what looks like two, but it's four vertices here. Just to remind you, see that? I'm going to select right. So we're going to take those four, press E to extrude, R to rotate. And we don't want to scale because we don't want to lose our width. So we're going to press A to deselect, B for box select to select these four, even though they look like they're two. Trying to make that bend there. I'm going to press A to deselect, B for box select, and bring that down a little bit more. I'm going to press A to deselect, B for box select, select these four vertices, take this up, maybe not too high, but like that. I'm going to press A to deselect, B for box select, grab these four vertices. Then I'm going to hold the lasso, hold the control, not the lasso, hold the control and the right mouse button to get a lasso select. Then I'm going to press E to extrude, R to rotate, left click to lock in, take the manipulator and push to the side just slightly, and we zoom in. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to press A to deselect, B for box select, and just pull this out to the side here. Press A to deselect, B to box select to select these two vertices here and pull them to the side. Okay, now that we have all that working, what we're going to do is we're going to select here to go to top view. We're going to press A to deselect. We're going to press Control R to put a loop cut right down the center of this mesh that we're working on. We're going to left click once and then left click again to totally lock this in. We're going to press A to deselect. This right here is your the origin point for your object. And it's very important that this is exactly in the center of your mesh. Because what we're about to do is we're about to put a mirror modifier on this, and the mirror modifier allows us to basically do half of the work that we normally would have to do. So we just model on this side, and the mirror modifier will take our work from this side and apply it to this side. So to do that, we're going to go to face select. We're going to go for B for box select. I'm going to left click and hold and drag and select all of these faces right here. Then I'm going to press X to bring up a delete menu, and then choose faces to delete. And then because we have our origin point right here, I'm going to hold my mouse here. I'm going to roll the mouse button to get to this button that looks like a wrench. This is our modifier button. I'm going to select here, and then I'm going to choose mirror. And this is the mirror modifier. And then you can see right here. And what's going on is this modifier is looking at this side and putting the opposite or the mirror version of it on this side. You want to select this clipping right here so that this side, the real side and the virtual side, so to say, stick together. You also can select this triangular looking button. Looks like a triangle to me. You can select that, and that makes it just look like, instead of having this transparent, mirrored view, it makes it look like you're actually working on, the mesh, the whole mesh. Not necessary to select that button. I like it. Okay, so now that we have that done, what we're going to do is press A to select everything. We're going to hold the middle mouse button and turn, and we can see how thick this thing is. I'm going to press Z and then choose solid. So it's way thick, so we're just going to take our manipulator with everything selected and push in. Now the reason, if you're new to Blender, you might be saying, oh, look at it, it's scaling. Yeah, technically it is scaling, but it's reducing the width, but the way it's doing it is because of the mirror modifier and because of this this clipping. We're just pushing the geometry towards each other, and it's very similar to scaling. We'll push that in a little bit more. Then we'll go to right view, and you can see from this view it doesn't even look like we really even did anything. Okay, what we're going to do is hold our middle mouse button. And you see this right here, this hard edge, we want to get rid of that. Blender has a nice way to get rid of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the edge select. We're going to hold Alt and select this edge right here. And when you hold the Alt key, it selects loops, or it selects, a bunch of edges like you see it doing right here. So with this edge selected here, Our mirror modifier is, basically mirroring it on the other side. But with this edge selected here, I'm just holding the middle mouse button to turn to the side just to get a better view. Now what we can do is press Control B, which is bevel, and then we'll pull. And you see that right there? So it just takes away some of the sharpness of that edge right there. So what we're going to do now is hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan. We're going to hold Alt. We're going to select right here. And just by holding Alt, it grabbed all these edges for us. And then we're going to press Control B and then pull and do the same thing. Just a pretty cool way of adding geometry and making it a little bit rounder. The mesh, making the mesh a little bit rounder. Okay, now with that done, what we want to do is I'm going to press A to deselect. Now I'm going to press Control R to put a loop cut in. I'm going to put a loop cut just like you see it there by the preview line. We're going to left click to lock in, left click again to totally lock in. And I'm just holding them in the mouse button just to get a better view. And I'm actually just going to pull out slightly. And again, we're just, rounding out our mesh, some more here. Okay, so now we're going to press A to deselect. Right here is going to be where a leg comes out. And of course, the mirror is going to mirror it on the other side. And the same thing right here. So right now we have basically two faces. We want to have more geometry to work with. So what we're going to do is we're going to press Control R to put a loop cut here. Left click twice to totally lock it in. I'm going to press A to deselect there. Now I'm going to press Control R to put a loop cut here. So just keep that in your mind. This is a leg's going to come out of here, and a leg is also going to come out of here. Okay, so what we're going to do now is press A to deselect. I'm going to press this button here to go to face select. I'm going to select here, hold Shift, and while holding Shift, select here, here, and here. I'm going to select right view from here so you can see what's going on as far as, why I'm choosing these faces to have the leg come out, and that's because it matches up with the reference drawing. Okay, I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom back a little bit. Oh, by the way, I drew this drawing inside of a free open source program called Krita. Krita is similar to GIMP, and for more detailed image manipulation, I still prefer GIMP. However, for drawing, Krita is spectacular. Anyway, with these faces here selected, what we're going to do is we're going to press X to bring up our delete menu, and then we're going to choose faces to delete those faces. Okay, now what we need is kind of like the muscle and shoulder area to pop out some for this leg to come down. When I hold to when I hold the middle mouse button and turn to the side, we need to have this area actually come out some like this and then have the leg go down. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to go to Edge Select. We're going to select this edge here. We're going to hold Shift. We're going to select this edge here. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. Now what we're going to do is press E to extrude on the X-axis like this. And we're bringing it out to about the length that we want this leg to come out. We still have these two edges selected, so we're going to press F to fill. And fill is just a way of saying basically closing the gap, between this edge that we had selected and this edge. When we pressed F, it closed the gap, or it filled this area right here. Now what we want to do with this is we have this filled right here, right? However, see this line right here? So see, we have a blank spot here, and we have one face right here. We need two faces to match up with these lines here. So before we, add in the geometry to fill in this hole here, what we want to do is press Control R to put a loop cut in. Then we're going to left click once, left click again to totally lock in. And now I'm going to hold the middle mouse button, turn to the side. Now what we're going to do is go to vertice select. We're going to select this vertice here. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel in so you can see better. I'm going to hold Shift. I'm going to select this vertice, and this vertice. And now with all of these four vertices selected, I can press F to fill, or fill in the gap between these vertices, and that's going to create a new face. So I'm just going to press F, and then now we're just going to repeat the process. We're going to select this vertice here, Hold shift and select here, here, and here. And then we're going to press fill to fill in that gap there. Okay, and while we work on this, we want to think about what's going to happen in the future. We're working on an organic creature. I tend to like some stylistically slightly hard lines on organic creatures. However, we don't want to leave this geometry like it is. We want this to be more round. So what we're going to do is press Control R. We're going to left click once, left click again to totally lock in. And now we have the ability to, just add some more detail into here. So now we're going to hold the middle mouse button and turn to the side. So now we have this nice, piece of geometry that allows us to continue to work on this leg. Okay, so what we're going to do now is press A to deselect. We're going to make sure we're on edge select by selecting the edge button right here. We're going to hold Alt and we're going to select this edge right here. That grabs this entire edge loop. The Alt button is a lovely thing because it just speeds things up a lot. Anyway, with that done, what we're going to do is we're going to select right view here. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. We're going to press E to extrude on the Z axis. And see that line right there? That bluish purplish line? That's our preview line. So I'm just pulling down to about here. I'm going to left click to lock in. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let me show you in 3D view. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button. See how it's like that, just hard to work with. So what we can do is we can press S to scale on the Z axis 0 and then left click to lock in. And what that does is it's just a quick way to flatten shapes out. So that's a good thing to keep in your mind. S to scale on the Z axis 0, dealing with things that are going up and down, it will flatten out the in this situation, flatten out this bottom part right here. Okay, this next thing, you don't have to do it the way I'm going to show you. I tend to like to do things quickly. You can manually take these vertices. You can go to vertices, select, and manually form this into a circular shape. So you don't need the loop tools option. That's what I showed you how to set up in the beginning of this tutorial. However, if for some chance your loop tools don't work, you can manually do it, Anyway, we're going to press W, and if you did, put a check mark next to those options I showed you in the add-ons menu in the user preferences towards the beginning of the tutorial. In your specials menu, you'll see a thing that says loop tools. So we'll just go up, and then if you select this, it will make a shape or loop that you have circular. So I'll just press circle, and you can see just with one click it made this a nice circular shape. So now we're going to select here to go back to right view, and I'm going to press S to scale. Just push that forward just a little bit. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press Z to go into wireframe mode. I'm then going to press E to extrude, pull this straight down. Actually, I'm going to press Z so I know it's going straight down. See that preview line? That's how you know you can only go up or down, and it's useful for control. I'm going to go to vertices select. I'm going to pull this to the side, and then I'm going to press S to scale. I'm actually going to lift this up a little bit above the joint. I'm going to press R to rotate. And when I scaled there, I did lose some of the width because I didn't scale in an axis. However, I want to, in this situation, to actually lose some of the width and have the entire loop of vertices actually shrink down or scale down. Okay, when you're dealing with organic creatures, typically what's going to happen, and it's going to happen in this tutorial, eventually we're going to put a subdivision surface modifier on here. Now, one of the things that's going to do is it's going to smooth out a lot of these edges. However, in some of the smoothing that happens, it will lose, it will put smoothness in areas that you don't necessarily want them to be totally smooth. One of those areas that you want to be not super smooth is around a joint. So what we're going to do here with these extrusions will help as far as if you want to rig this creature in the future, but it also will help to not have it be too smooth, if that makes sense to you. So I'm going to press E to extrude, pull down a little, press R to rotate, take the manipulator and just moving a little bit. I'm going to rotate a little bit more. And I'm going to press E to extrude, just pull down, no access, R to rotate a little bit more. I'm going to press S to scale. I'm fine for now on it shrinking and or scaling down on all accesses. And this ring here, this ring here, this ring here. When you want to make things have a harder edge inside of Blender, by putting edges closer together, you have less softness, and we definitely want that when, you know, for the most part, we want that when dealing with joints. So what we're going to do now is we're going to press E to extrude, come down to here. I'm going to press S to scale. Now we're scaling, you know, without specific accesses. So what we're going to do is hold the middle mouse button, turn to the side, and, you know, it's not bad. Typically, you want to look from, you know, front to side, front to side. You can always adjust things later on, but it's definitely, you know, useful to be looking through your different views so you know what's going on. I'm going to select right here to go right back. I'm going to press E to extrude here, and again here I'm going to roll the mouse wheel in. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan. Pull up a little bit. I'm purposely putting in multiple vertices here. Multiple edge loops here, so that when we smooth this out, it's, you know, we have a little bit of hardness here. Okay, what you're going to do now with this part is you're going to press E to go straight down. We're going to select Z for the Z axis and bring this down just like this. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to press Z and go back to solid view. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button so we can just take a look, and you see we have the space right here. Now you can manually select vertices and fill in the space here. What we're going to do is we're going to press Control F, which brings up our faces menu. Then we're going to go right here to where it says Grid Fill, or Grid Fill. And then Blender automatically, instead of just, if we had just pressed F, right, it would have put a flat plane here without these additional faces. But because we use Grid Fill, it set up good geometry for us. Okay, I'm going to select right here to go back into the right view. Okay, you can see right here that we have like these talon things coming out here. We want to have 3 in the front, which you can't see from the reference drawing, and 1 in the back. So what we're going to do is hold the middle mouse button and turn to the side. I actually want this area to be thicker here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the O key. Now the OK key is going to turn on the proportional editing tool. As soon as I press the O key, you'll see this turn blue. Another thing I should mention is that in Blender, your shortcut keys are dependent on where your mouse is at. So if I move the mouse over here, my shortcut keys change. If I move it over here, they change. So you want most of these shortcut keys that I'm saying you want to be done in this menu, which is a 3D menu. So I'm going to press O to turn it on. And what the proportional editing tool does is it allows you to move more than one vertice at a time to see the area of influence that the proportional editing tool is working with. If you press the G tool, see that? That shows us what will be affected. So pretty much all of the vertices in that area will be affected, right? If I roll the mouse wheel up, I can shrink this area of influence. If I roll it back, I can increase it. So what we're going to do is press S to scale. We're just making this a little bit bigger. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel. You can see, you can kind of like pull your mouse and roll at the same time. So I'm going to left click to lock in. I'm going to roll back just to take a look. Okay, now I'm going to roll the mouse wheel forward to zoom in. So what I want here is I want a claw from here, a claw from here, and I'm going to make these 2 faces end up being, one claw. So we don't want them being quite this high. So let's select right. We can see right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to press Control R to put a loop cut. We're going to left click one time. Because we left click one time, we can still move this loop cut. We'll move it up just slightly. We'll put it kind of in between. We'll put it right here. We'll put it down. Left click there to totally lock it in. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button and turn to the side. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click here and select disable. You can also click here and select enable to enable it. You can also press the O key, as in the letter O, to turn that off. Anyway, what we're going to do now is we're going to go to phase select. We're going to select here. We're going to select here. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button and turn to the side. Then I'm going to press E to extrude. All right. About there. I'm going to go to right view so I can see the reference. Scale down some. Push this down some like this. I'm going to press E to extrude again. Then E to extrude again. I'm going to press R to rotate right here. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button just to take a look at this. Okay, with those two faces there still selected, I'm going to press E to extrude, left click to lock in, S to scale. Now when I pressed E to extrude, it didn't look like I did anything. What I did was I created new geometry, and that new geometry allowed me to, scale in this face and have these edges here like that. Let me zoom in so you can see better. I'm going to press, I'm going to press and hold Shift and hold the middle mouse button. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom in some more. I'm going to press S to scale to get this down a little bit smaller. Now what I'm going to do is press E to extrude on the Y axis. See that green line? That's our preview line showing us how we're going to extrude, and we're going to extrude in. So, not too much. I'm going to left click to lock in. I'm going to press S to scale. And I'm actually going to press E to extrude, left click to lock in, scale down again. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select right here, and I'm going to press actually before that, let me press A to deselect. I'm going to press Z to go to wireframe. I'm going to hold control. I'm going to go to vertice select. I'm going to hold control, hold the right mouse button, draw a lasso select, and that'll just allow me to adjust these vertices a little bit more. Now I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, now I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to get more of a 3D view. I'm going to press Z and then choose solid. I'm now going to go to face select this face. I'm going to hold Shift and select this face. I'm now going to select right view again. Then I'm going to press E to extrude. Here, I'm actually going to press S to scale this up some. I'm going to press R to rotate it a little. Then I'm going to press E to extrude again. S to scale. Push this down. I'll press R to rotate it a little bit more. Press S to scale. Then I'm going to press E to extrude. And S to scale. I think I'm going to press R to... I'm going to press S to scale it down a little bit more. Okay, so now that we have this one done, I'm just holding the middle mouse button to look to the side. I'm going to select right to go right back. What we're going to do is press A to deselect, Z for to be able to select wireframe. We're going to go to vertice select. We're going to hold down the control button, hold down the right mouse button, and we're going to drag a lasso all around this talon piece of mesh here. And I'm going to hold the middle mouse button, turn to the side, and it's good. It grabbed what we wanted. We're going to press Shift D. Left click to lock in. And what that did was that made a totally new piece of geometry. We're going to take our manipulator and just pull to the side slightly. Okay, now we're going to press the Z key and then go back to solid view. And basically what's going on here is I'm going to zoom back. You see this right here? We did work on this side. This other side, this other leg is there because we have a mirror modifier on it. The mirror modifier is saving us time. So when you can duplicate a process like the mirror modifier is duplicating this side and making this other, virtual side, we want to do the same thing when we went through the time to form this, talon mesh thing here. So what we're going to do is what we are doing is we're just going to reuse this geometry since it is supposed to be the same thing anyway. Now, one of the things that pops up is this right here had two faces. All right. Now this right here has one face. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to edge select. We're going to select this edge right here, pull this out just a little bit to give it some more space. We want this to easily go on to there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we need to get rid of this line right here, and like usual, Blender has a nice solution for us. We're going to press A to deselect. We're going to hold Alt. We're on edge select. We're going to select this edge right here. Now we're going to press X to bring up our delete menu. Now, so far in this tutorial, we've deleted, things like faces. However, in this situation, we don't want to delete this edge. What we want to do is dissolve the edge. And the best way I can describe dissolving edges at the current moment is it will take away that line without doing harm to the additional geometry. So we're going to select the dissolve edges, not delete edges, dissolve edges. And now you can see there's that edge is gone. Our geometry for the most part looks the same. Something else we're going to do is we're going to go to face select. We're going to hold here, select this part of the face right here. We're going to press X. This time with our delete menu, we're choosing delete faces. Now we're going to select here. We're going to press X to bring up our delete menu. We're going to choose delete faces. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to get a better view. I'm going to hover my mouse over this. Because this piece is separated from this piece, we can simply press L and it will grab all this geometry right here. So now what we want to do is we're going to right click right here to put our 3D cursor there. We're going to use this 3D cursor to rotate this part of the mesh how we want it to be. So we can click here and then select 3D cursor. So what that means now is that things will pivot off of the 3D cursor instead of the median point, which is Blender's default pivot point. So what we're going to do is press R to rotate on the Z-axis, right? So we're just changing the angle. Then now that we have that, we can go back to here, which is our pivot point, select the median point, which is Blender's default pivot point again. And I'm just going to take the manipulator, push this in a little bit, push this here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to hold the middle mouse button just to change our view. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press Shift D, left click to lock in. I'm going to pull this to the side because we do need another one. And what we need to do is connect this now to this. Now, like usual, Blender has a nice solution for us. We're going to press A to deselect. We're going to go to edge select. We're going to hold Alt. We're going to select this edge. Now we're going to press and hold Shift and hold Alt and select right here. So we have this edge loop selected as well as this edge loop. So now what we're going to do, now you can manually fill this in. You can select here, put a face here, select here, put a face there, select there, put a face in. This next thing, if by some chance it doesn't work for you, it's not too much longer to manually put this in. However, if you use the user preferences in the beginning, the setup where I told you where to put check marks for the add-ons, you can press W to bring up your specials menu. At least you should be. Sometimes people have issues with loop tools even when they do try to set it up. Again, loop tools is just something to speed up your modeling or speed up your work. It's not necessary. Definitely not necessary in this situation. Anyway, what you want to do is go to bridge, and you see that right there. Not only did it bridge the geometry here and here, but it filled in that space, so that works out well for doing things like this. Okay, so now what we're going to do is press A to deselect. We're going to hover our mouse over here, press L. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button and turn to the side. I'm going to take the manipulator. You want to be careful to just, use your manipulator to move around. You don't want to go up and down with this for what we're trying to do here. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button. I'm going to right click my cursor here. I'm going to go to here, which is our pivot point, where we can select our pivot point. I'm going to change it from Blender's default pivot point to the 3D cursor. Now I'm going to press R to rotate on the Z axis. You want to be careful about this center line right here. I'm getting very close to there. You don't want this to cross into that, because what will happen is Blender will take its clipping and it will make these join. I mean, you can turn off clipping, but you're generally better off just not trying to have it cross over. So what we're going to do is just pull this to the side here. I'm going to right click here to reposition the 3D cursor, since we're pivoting off this 3D cursor. So now we're going to press R to rotate on the Z axis like this. The green line is showing us, where we don't want to go past. Push this in. And I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to hold the middle mouse button. I'm actually going to press Z, go to wireframe mode, press A to deselect, select all of this right here. I'm holding Control and the right mouse button, and I'm just going to pull this to the side a little bit to give some more space. I'm going to press, you know what? I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold Control, hold the right mouse button. I think I'm going to select all of this here. Missed a spot. Okay, and I'm just selecting this because I want to pull this out some now. In case you're looking at this and you're like, it's crazy, I'm struggling with the loop selected, blah, 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 what's going on? I'll deselect it, right? I'll press Z to go to solid view. And then instead of grabbing like that, we can actually also grab by pressing, make sure we're on face select, pressing C. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel, and C is for paint select. Very useful. Allows you to paint the selection of vertices, edges, and faces. So I'm going to just paint select all of here. This might be a little bit easier to understand what I'm doing. So I right click to get out of paint select. Now I'm pressing C again to go back into it. So when you want to change your view, you're going to have to right click to get out of paint select. So I'm going to right click. So now you see I have all of that there. I'm going to zoom in. Now I'm going to hold Shift. Shift just allows you to select multiple things. So I'm selecting this. So now when I'm confident, do I have that? Nope, didn't have it. That I have all of that geometry. I'm going to temporarily turn back to the medium point. I'm just going to pull out to the side a little bit. This right here, I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm actually going to, on face select, I'm just going to see, I see there's a loop cut here and a loop cut there, so I'll just press there. I'll hold Shift because I'm on face select. I held Alt and it let me select that whole loop. Now I'm going to do the same thing again, and I'm holding Shift so that I can also select this loop of faces as well. So right now my fingers are holding Shift and Alt, and I am on face select, so I select, whoops. I'm going to, now when I did that, I can just go to the side a little bit, and, oh, I can't. Okay, I'm going to press A to deselect. Try this again. Hold Alt, hold Shift, select here, select it, there we go. Now I'm going to press O to turn on the proportional editing tool. I know it probably looks like I'm getting complicated, it really isn't. I'm going to press G, not too complicated anyway, and just pull to the side. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel down to decrease the area of influence. Okay. And now we can go back to this. Okay, so what we're going to do is hold the middle mouse button. We're going to press A to deselect this right here. Hold the middle mouse button. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. I'm going to right click here to put the 3D cursor back, put it back a little bit further so we can pivot off of that. I'm going to go here to the pivot point, left click here. Blender's default pivot point is medium point. We're going to go to the 3D cursor, and then we're going to press, we're going to hover over this. We're going to press L, and it's selected the entire thing. That's how L works when you select over a separate object. We're going to press R2 or separate object inside of edit mode. It can get confusing because it's like we're inside of an object in edit mode, but inside of an object you can have multiple, I guess, sub-objects they would be considered. We want to turn this off because we don't want our vertices to be, pushed in ways we don't want them to be pushed in. So I'm just going to click here, select disable. So now I'm going to press R to rotate on the Z-axis like this. You can see there's our green line right there. We don't want to pass because we move this leg over, we have enough space now. I'm going to press R to rotate on the Z-axis. I pulled it in just a little bit. So now what we're going to do is we're going to press A to deselect. We're going to go to edge select. I'm going to select this edge this edge right here. Let me zoom in so you can see this. I'm going to change my view a little bit so I can see a little bit better. Let me click here, change the pivot point from the 3D cursor that we were on back to Blender's default pivot point, which is the medium point. And now I'm just going to push this edge out a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is go to face select this face right here. I'm going to press X to bring up our delete menu. I'm going to choose faces to delete there. I'm going to go to edge select. I'm going to hold Alt, select here, hold shift in the Alt button. So I'm holding shift and Alt right now. Now I select this edge loop. And because I have this edge loop selected and this edge loop selected, I'm going to roll the mouse wheel back some. I'm going to press, I still have those two loops selected. I'm going to press W to bring up our specials menu. And just like before, I'm going to choose bridge. And Blender does an excellent job of allowing us to, add in that geometry. And just now it did seem, going through that, it seemed like, a decent amount of work. But it's, as you get the technique down and get used to using, the bridge option, it's advantageous to, work on something like this and then just duplicate it, to where you need it to be. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to select here to go back in the right view. So we need this right here. So I'm going to hold the middle mouse button, turn to the side, or top view. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to press Z to go to wireframe. We need this right here. So I'm going to hover my mouse here. I'm going to hold control. Oops. We want to make sure I'm on face select. I'm going to hover my mouse here, hold control, hold the right mouse button, and select all of this right here. Using lasso select. I'm going to press Z to go back to solid view mode. You can see there we grabbed this bottom part, which we don't want. So I'm actually going to press Z. And there's multiple ways to deselect it. I like using paint selects. I press C, not Z. I think I said Z. I'm going to press C for paint select. Now if you hold the middle mouse button, you can deselect selections. So I'm going to right click to get out of there. Now I'm going to hold the middle mouse button just to rotate the view. I'm going to press Shift D, left click to lock in, just to duplicate that geometry. Now I'm actually going to take this forward. I'm going to press RZ180 to flip it around, left click to lock in. So right there I just pressed R to rotate on the Z axis and then 180, so it turned 180 degrees, which is the opposite direction. That sets it right up for where we need it to be. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. Okay, so now we'll zoom in. We're on face select. We'll select this face, hold shift, select this face. While still holding shift, we'll press X to bring up our delete menu, choose faces to delete. We're going to go to edge select. We're going to hold Alt. I'm holding Alt right now, and I'm going to, while holding Alt, select this edge. Now I'm also holding shift. So I'm holding shift and alt. I select this edge right here. Now I press W to bring up our specials menu. I go to loop tools and I select bridge. And it's very nice that Blender, very quickly, fills in this geometry here. Okay, now I'm going to press right so we can take a look. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold Alt and select right here while on edge select. I'll just pull up slightly there. I'll press Z to go to wireframe. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press press and hold Control. I'm going to hold the right mouse button. I'm going to select right here. I'm going to turn this to vertice select. Just pull up slightly here, and I'm going to press R to rotate slightly. Just a better match up here. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press B for box select. Pull up here a little bit. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis here. I'm actually going to press A to deselect, B for box select, select right here, and press S to scale on the Z axis here. It doesn't look like I grabbed both. I'm going to press A to deselect. Sorry about that. Make sure I'm holding Control and the right mouse button to do a loop select. And now I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis, and there we go. Left click to lock in. Doesn't have to be exact, just. Okay, I'm going to roll back to take a look at this thing. So it's coming along. Now we've got this leg to work on. Okay, so now we're going to press Z, go to solid view. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel in to zoom in. I'm going to hold shift and middle mouse button to pan. Roll a little bit, mouse wheel to zoom in a little bit closer. I'm going to go to face select. I'm going to select here. I'm going to hold shift and select here, here, here. You could also press C to paint select. I don't know why sometimes I choose paint select. Sometimes sometimes it's equal and it's just how you select that. I don't know. First thing that comes to mind, I guess. So I'm holding the middle mouse button and turning to the side. So what we want to do is we're going to press X to bring up our delete menu. We're going to choose faces to delete those faces. We're then going to go to edge select. I'm holding the middle mouse button just to get a view. We're going to select this edge. We're going to hold shift and we're going to select this edge here. We're going to press E to extrude on the X axis like that. We're going to press S to scale on the Y axis to pull those edges, towards each other. We're going to left click to lock in. Okay, now we're going to press F, and when we press F, it's going to fill the space in between these two selected edges. So I'm pressing F now. There we go. Now we have this edge loop here, and we can see that it doesn't match up here. So I'm going to zoom in by rolling the mouse wheel in. I'm going to press Control R to put a loop cut in, and I'm going to left click once and then again to totally lock in. And now what I'm going to do is go to vertice select. I'm going to select here. I'm going to hold shift. Let me change the view so I can see this vertice better. Here, here, and here. So I have 4 vertices selected. Rotating the view just to make. Sometimes I'll grab one down there, but they're good. So I'm going to press F to scale. So now we're going to do the same thing again. I'm going to select here, hold shift, select here, here, and here. Then I'm going to press F to fill in the space between, those vertices there. And then just like we did before, to have more geometry so this can be rounded out a little bit later on, we're going to press Control R. Put a loop cut right here, so I'm going to left click once and then left click again to totally lock in. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to turn the view. I'm going to hold Alt. I'm going to make sure I'm edge select first, which I wasn't. We're on edge select now. I'm going to hold Alt, select this edge, and by holding Alt, I selected that entire edge loop right there. Now we're going to select here to go back into right view. We're going to press E to extrude on the Z axis, and you can see that blue line popping up. So we're going to push down a little bit, and if you can remember before, see this kind of strange shape here? We want this to be flat. So what we're going to do is we're going to press S to scale on the Z axis 0, and then left click to lock in, and then that flattens out the bottom of that for us. Now I'm going to hold the middle mouse button, take a view here, and then remember I said you can manually make this circular, and you would just grab this, pull this out, push this out, you know, just go around and vertice by vertice you would basically select the vertice, move, select the vertice, move, select the vertice, move until you got a circular shape. However, if you set up the loop cut tools like I showed you in the beginning in the user preferences, and hopefully after you set that up you have loop tools. Like I said before, some people did have some kind of issues with it, but if you have that set up, you can just press W, loop tools, W to bring up your specials menu, then go to loop tools, and then go to circle, and then you get a nice quick circular shape, which I very much like. I'm going to press S to scale because it was like pushing into the body a little bit. I'm actually going to give us some more space by, I'm going to go to face select, I'm going to select here, hold the middle mouse button to turn, I'm going to select here, 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 whoops, here, pull this out just a little. I'm going to press A, let me see if I can grab this loop here, and go to edge select, yep, pull that out a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to go, I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, so now with edge select on, we're going to hold Alt, select right here. We're going to select right to go to the right view. I'm going to press S to scale. Left click to lock in, and I scaled on no axis there. And I'm just scaling it so it matches up with the reference drawing. Now I'm going to press actually let me take a look. I'm going to press S to scale on the x-axis slightly there. Alright, I'm going to select here to go back into right view. I'm going to press E to extrude on the z-axis. Bring this down about here. Now we've got to make this joint right here. Remember when I was talking to you about when we put the subdivision surface on here, you want to actually have, it's good for rigging, but it's also good to not have it be too shaped. So that's kind of what we're going to be going through here. I'm going to press R to rotate on the x-axis slightly here. I'm going to press E to extrude. I'm going to press R to rotate, no axis. Press E to extrude. R to rotate. I'm going to press Z and go to wireframe so we can see better. I'm going to go to vertice select. Press S to scale. Push in a little bit here. I'm going to press R to rotate a little bit more. I'm going to press S to scale. I'm going to press let's go back up a little bit. I'm going to press E to extrude here, R to rotate. A lot of rotation on this one. Press S to scale. I'm scaling on no axis. Matter of fact, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button, turn to the side, and you can see that's getting a little bit thin there. It's not bad though for what we're doing, so I'm going to leave it how it is. I'm going to select right to go right back. I press E to extrude, R to rotate, E to extrude, R to rotate. And if it helps, think about what we're doing here. Think about, you ever see those straws that have like the bendy loops in them? And it's like the bends, as the straw bends, that's kind of what this is like. Anyway, we're going to press E to extrude, R to rotate. And it's good, at least I think it's good, to have all of these loop cuts next to that joint right there. I'm going to press E to extrude. Zoom in. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. Press E to extrude again. R to rotate. That's the scale. E to extrude. R to rotate. And E to extrude again. S to scale, R to rotate, E to extrude, about here, E to extrude, R to rotate slightly, E to extrude, whoops, and I right click. If you right click in the middle of a movement, it's not exactly Control Z, but it kind of like undoes what you're in the middle of, which is useful sometimes. Anyway, I'm going to press E to extrude, then R to rotate. Now I'm going to press E to extrude on the Z axis. You can see there's our preview line right there. Bring it straight down, and it's not too tilted, but I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis, 0. Left click to lock in. Just straighten that out. Okay, we're going to press Z and then choose solid. You can see we have that gap there. So we're going to press Control F, which is going to bring up our faces menu. Then we're going to choose grid fill, and and if you're not pleased with how these grid fill lines are, you can actually select here and move them around a little bit. You can actually offset here. Yeah, I like that much better. There we go. So yeah, you can manipulate that grid fill with this panel right here. Okay, so with that selected, I'm going to go to face select. I'm going to press O to turn on our proportional editing tool. You can see by this blue circle the proportional editing tool is on. I'm going to press G, which we normally use to just translate or move things, but I use it a lot of times to be able to see the proportional editing tool. And then now we're just going to press S to scale. I think I'm going to press S to scale on the X-axis to make this wider. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to take a look at it. Okay, it's coming along. Good so far. Okay, we're going to select right to take a look at this. Okay, so I'm going to hold the middle mouse button. And this time we're going to form these, claw parts of the mesh here, or paw parts of the mesh here. Paw and claw parts of the mesh here are a little bit different. It's kind of a cool trick. I guess it's been a while now that I learned it, but it's pretty effective and it's pretty quick. So what we do is we make sure we have face select on, right? We want each one of these to extrude out. Now, if we just pressed extrude, one solid piece would come out, very similar to like when we brought this leg down. However, if we click here to the pivot point, change the pivot point to individual origins, right? And then we press Alt E and see that extrude menu pops up. We get a special type of extrude called individual faces. So now with individual faces, when we pull out, you see that? I'm going to left click to lock in. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button. You can see each of the faces extruded and came out on their own. So where we would have had to do all this, work doing one, then the other one, or even copying, one, claw thing to the next. This just took care of it, very quickly. So we're going to press the right to go to right view. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button and turn to the side. And see how they're spread out? I like how they're spread out, but suppose we want to bring that in and bring it in, fairly easier. If I keep this on, I can shrink down each of these, which is advantageous in different situations. Right now, I want this to be, I want the distance between this and this to be less. So what I'm going to do is click here, change the medium point, and I'm going to press S to scale on the X-axis. It doesn't do a perfect job, but you can see it made them, closer together there. I'm going to click here, change this back to the individual origins. And this isn't going to match up exactly with the reference just because of how spread out it is, but we're going to press E to extrude. We're going to press S to scale on the Z axis. Then we're going to press E to extrude. Push straight down some. Now we're going to press E to extrude, left click to lock in, S to scale. You can see they're all individually scaling. We're going to press E to extrude, we're going to push in just a little, S to scale. Press S to scale in some. Then we're going to press E to extrude. We're doing no axis, we're just letting it come out. Left click to lock in. We're going to press S to scale. Then we're just going to push down. I'm going to zoom back, take a look at that. Let's go to right to see, for the most part. I press A to deselect. Okay, now what we're going to do is zoom in. Actually, let's go to right view. We're going to press Z so we can go to wireframe. We're going to hold down Control, hold down the right mouse button, which allows us to draw a lasso select. We're on face select, so we grabbed all of that geometry right there. Then we're going to press Z to go back to solid view. Okay, now what we want to do is we're going to hold the middle mouse button and we're going to zoom in, hold shift and middle mouse button to pan. We'll zoom in a little bit more. We're on face select and we're holding shift and we're just going to deselect these claws. Now you can also do this by holding C for paint select and using the middle mouse button. But sometimes when it misses pieces, it's, I don't know, I'd rather just take the few extra moments and make sure that it's grabbing and deselecting. So we want to, I'm spinning the view just to make sure good. The claws look like they're deselected. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to go to our pivot point, change this from the individual origins pivot point that it's currently on to Blender's default pivot point, which is medium point. And you see right there, I'm just rolling the mouse wheel to zoom in. See right here how this claw is going through this part of the mesh right here. We're going to deal with that in a few moments. Okay, so what we're going to do is roll the mouse wheel back. And we're going to use a special type of scale, which is a scale that kind of thickens instead of just making things bigger. And to do that, we're going to hold Alt and press S. Then we're just going to pull our mouse a little, not too much. Like that. Then with this selected, we're just going to push this down some. And now we can see the claws have better placement there. Let's go to right view. And now that we have this part thickened without this part, now what we'll do is we'll press Z, go to wireframe, hold hold Control and the right mouse button. We'll select all of this right here. Then we'll just push this back up. So I'm going to zoom back. I'm going to press Z to go to solid view. We're going to take a look at this thing. And I'm actually going to press S to scale to make this bigger. Watch that line right there. I'm going to press S to scale on the Y axis. I'll push it forward slightly. Yeah, I like how that looks. Okay, and I'm just going to rotate the view, take a look at how this thing is coming out. And looks pretty good so far. So with face select on, we're going to select here. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to hold shift and then the mouse button to pan. And now what I'm going to do is press E to extrude, left click to lock in. I'm going to press S to scale this in. I'm going to take the manipulator and push in. I'm going to pull back just slightly. Press S to scale a little bit more. I'm going to go to right view. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. And see, here's the tail here. We're all the way down here. So what I'm going to do is press O to turn on a proportional edit. You'll see this turns blue when I press it to let us know it's on. There you go. I'm going to press G so I can see the area of influence. I'm going to roll my mouse wheel to make it a little bit bigger. Now I'm going to press Z. See the preview line showing where we can pull it to pull this up. And there you go. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button. I'm going to turn this here. I'm going to pull this back a little bit more. I'm going to press O to turn off the proportional edit tool. That. I'm going to press right view to go into right view. Then I'm going to press E to extrude. Take this all the way out. A lot of times if I come near the edge of the screen, I'll stop what I'm doing and then move the screen because sometimes things act a little strange when I go off the screen. So I'm going to press S to scale. Rotate the view. We'll push in like that. Select here to go back to right view. Now we're going to press E to extrude. Come out like this. S to scale. Take a look at that. Not bad. I just held the middle mouse button to turn. I'm going to press right here. And I'm going to press E to extrude. There's a preview line showing where we're going to go. Y. There we go. Green preview line showing us where we're going to go. I'm going to press S to scale. I'm going to take the manipulator and push this up some. Push S to scale on the Z axis this time. I'm going to press E to extrude on the Y axis. Take this over like this. I'm going to press Z, go to wireframe. I'm going to go to vertices select. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. We're going to press E to extrude on the Y axis. Come out to about here. S to scale. E to extrude. S to scale. Take the manipulator and push this down. Then E to extrude. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button. Zoom in by rolling the mouse. I'm going to press Z to go back to solid view. Push this in some. Press S to scale. Zoom in even more. Hold shift and middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to press E to extrude. Left click to lock in. S to scale. Push this forward a little bit. Right view, C, wireframe. Okay, now see that how I got carried away. This was cool about the proportional editing tool. Suppose we wanted to go pretty much with that. We just press O, press G so we can see our area of influence. Roll the mouse wheel down. Press Y so we have preview line, and then everything kind of adjusts right to this. We'll press A to deselect there. B for box select here. S this we want to don't do anything. You want to turn off the proportional editing tool. You can see it's off there. S to scale on the Z axis here. I'm going to press Control R. Put a loop cut here. Left click a second time to lock in. So I left click once, then a second time. S to scale. S to scale again. I'm going to hold Alt, select right here. Press S to scale. Okay, now we're going to press Z, go back to solid view. We're going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. And we're just going to take a look at this thing coming along. Okay, this entire time we've been in edit mode. We're now going to click here to go into object mode. Currently we're on layer 1. These, what you see here, are layers. These are basically set up they have different purposes, but the main purpose that I know of is for organization. We're going to click here and go into layer 2. When I select here, it's going to look like everything disappeared. Everything didn't disappear, or it didn't go away. It's just going to be left here in layer 1. So I'm going to click here, and as soon as I click here, we're going to go into layer 2. Okay, in a way, did you know that we're in layer 2? As you can see, like, this is dark right here on the layer we're at, which is layer 2, but you can still see the circle there. So the work that we did is still waiting for us there in layer 1. So everything is fine, and this will allow us just to move on and work quickly. There's multiple ways of trying to organize things and to work quicker. This is how I'm just currently choosing to do this at this time. So I'm going to press Shift A, which brings up our add menu. I'm going to go to mesh and then go all the way up to the top. If I hover my mouse over this arrow, it shows me the additional options that you couldn't see when we first opened it up. So I'm going to select cube. Sometimes when you see me guys going on and on about something like that, it's sometimes because of some past bad experience. Like the first time I heard about layers, I was like, what are they? Is it like Photoshop? It's like, no, it's not like Photoshop, it's organization. But I just wanted to give a little bit of a description of it. Anyway, what we're going to do now is, here's our object here. We're going to click here and go into edit mode. We're then going to select right for here. And what we're going to do is we're going to, with this cube selected, we're going to pull this up here. And for now, we're actually going to take away this image. I'm going to press N. I'm going to look for the background image, and it'll still be there. I'm just going to temporarily turn it off. So you can see here, Griffin side drawing right here. Side drawing .jpg here. So I'm going to select this eye, and then when we need it again, I'll bring it back by reselecting that eye. So I'm going to press N to take away the properties panel. Okay, what we want to do here is we want to make kind of a C shape. So we're going to press Z, go to wireframe. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press B for box select. We're selecting these 4 vertices. Looks like 2, but it's really 4. We're going to press E to extrude. On the y-axis, bring this back, press R to rotate. Left click to lock in. We're going to take the manipulator and push this down. We're going to press E to extrude. Left click to lock in, take the manipulator, push this way. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press B for box select. I'm going to select here and push this down. Okay, now we're going to press A to deselect. We're going to press B for box select. We're going to select right here. We're going to press E to extrude. We're going to press R to rotate, or all R to start the rotation, and pull your mouse to rotate. Anyway, you're going to take your manipulator and just push this over. I'm looking at this line here. You're then going to press E to extrude on the Y-axis. And again, these lines, if you can see that, these grid lines actually help here. What we're going to do now is I'm going to roll the mouse wheel back. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press B for box select. I'm going to grab right here. I push these straight out like that to the point where it seems almost overly long. I'm then going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press B for box select. I'm going to select these 4 vertices here. Pull that out. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold Control, hold the right mouse button, and draw a loop. Select around all these here. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis there, and I'm just scaling this in some. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to select top to go to top view. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to press A to deselect. Here's our point of origin right here, right in the center. We're going to press Control R to put a loop cut. We're going to left click once, then left click again to totally lock in. We're going to press A to deselect. We're going to go to face select. We're going to press B for box select. I'm going a little bit faster here because this is almost, pretty close to what we did when we first started off this tutorial. Now we're going to press X to bring up our delete menu. We're going to choose faces. Our point of origin is right here in the center, so we're already on our modifier button, so we're going to click here and we're going to choose mirror. And then now that mirror popped up, you can see that transparent image showing up there. We're going to select clipping, and then we're going to select this triangular button here. Okay, what we're going to do now is you're going to press A to select everything. We're going to take our manipulator and pull out. It gives the appearance like we are scaling. Really, we're just, pulling this actual side away from the mirrored side. But essentially, it's like scaling without pressing S to scale. Anyway, we're going to hold the middle mouse button. Take a look at this. Actually, we're going to go back to the top view. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to go to vertices select by selecting this button here. I'm going to press B for box select. I'm going to select right here. I'm going to press R to rotate. And I'm going to press S to scale. Then left click to lock in. Okay, now I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold my middle mouse button. I'm going to press Z so we can select solid. I'm going to go to edge select. I'm going to select right here. I'm going to push in slightly here. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button just to change the view slightly. I'm going to select here. I'm going to push in slightly here as well. Okay, now I'm going to press right here to go into right view. I'm going to press A to deselect there. That edge that we had selected. I'm going to hover my mouse here. I'm going to press Control R, which puts in one loop cut. And now what I'm going to do is roll my mouse wheel. That puts in another loop cut, and then I'm going to roll my mouse wheel again to put in a third loop cut. Then I'm going to left click once and left click again to totally lock in. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press Control R. So there's my loop cut preview. I'm going to roll again for 2, and then roll one more time for 3. Left click once, then left click again to totally lock in. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to press A to deselect. We're going to press Z to go into wireframe. We're going to select vertices. We're going to press B for box select. We're going to select these vertices here. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button so we have 3 actual vertices selected. I'm going to select right to go right back. Looks like 2, but it's really 3. We're going to take our manipulator and just pull up slightly right here. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel in. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. Roll in a little bit more, shift and the middle mouse button to pan again. I'm going to press A to deselect. Then I'm going to press B for box select. Select these 3 vertices here. Push this down slightly right there. Okay, what we're going to do now is press A to deselect, Z to go into solid view. We're going to go to face select. We're going to select here, hold shift and select here. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button and turn to the side. I'm going to press E to extrude to create new geometry. I'm going to left click. It doesn't look like I did anything, but I made new geometry that's sitting on top of the old geometry. I'm going to press S to scale that down. I'm going to left click to lock in. I'm going to push in just slightly. I'm going to press E to extrude to push in a little bit more. I'm going to click left click to lock it in. I'm going to press S to scale. And then left click to lock that scale in. Okay, what we're going to do now, we're still on face select. We're going to select here. And we're going to select here. We're going to press O to turn on our proportional editing tool. You can see this blue dot showing it's on now. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel back. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button just to get a better view. I'm going to press G so we can see our area of influence. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to make it bigger. And I'm just going to see right now it's like wavy. I'm going to press X so I'm locked into just the X axis. About like that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is kind of the same thing here. We're going to stay with face select on. We're going to select here. We're going to hold shift. We're going to select here. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to turn to the side. I'm going to press G so we can see our area of influence from our proportional editing tool. I'm going to press E. You can see there's that red preview line showing us how we're going to go. And we're just going to push in like this. I'm going to actually push this forward a little bit. Then I'm going to push in again. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to press A to deselect. We're going to go here. We're going to press Control R to put a loop cut in here. Left click to lock in. Left click again to totally lock in. Okay, now what we're going to do is press A to deselect. We're actually going to go to, we're on edge select. We're going to click here, click disable for our proportional editing tool. We're going to select here. Pull this up. Actually, select here. Pull this up a little. Select here. Hold the middle mouse button just to rotate. Select up a little. Hold the middle mouse button to turn back to the front. Okay, we still have these edges here selected, so we're going to press A to deselect. We're going to press A again to select the entire head. And what we're going to do is press S to scale on the x-axis. We're going to press S to scale on the x-axis a little bit more. Just push in slightly. Okay, we're going to go back to face select, select these faces again. We're going to press O to turn on our proportional editing tool, G so we can see it, then X to move it. I'm just pushing in and I'm rolling the mouse wheel to adjust the proportional editing tool as I was pushing it in there. Maybe a little bit too much, you couldn't see it on that angle. Just don't want it to get strange there. I'm actually going to go to edge select here. I'm going to press O to turn off the proportional editing tool. Pull out slightly here. Select here. Push in here. Push forward. Push out slightly here. Out slightly here. Select here, push this down some. Zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. I'm selecting here. I'm going to hold shift, select here, push down some. Just making sure that this geometry wasn't, pushing through the top there. Sometimes you got to rotate around to look to see what's going on. Take this out. Forward a little bit. Okay, we're going to press A to deselect. We're going to press shift and the middle mouse button to pan up. We're going to turn on the connected proportional editing tool. We're going to click here and select connected. Before we were just using a regular proportional editing tool. The difference is the connected proportional editing tool will allow us to grab right here, push this in without affecting the area right here. Where the regular proportional editing tool, if we pushed in here, it would push in here as well. Okay, so what we're going to do is hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view slightly, go to face select, select here, hold shift, select here and here. That little thing right there is just our point of origin. Don't be concerned about that. Just hold the middle mouse button to get a better view. I'm going to press G so we can see remember we're on connected proportional editing tool now. I'm going to press X so we're locked into the X axis. I'm going to roll the proportional editing tool. And you can see it's actually helped me to change the geometry. Like that. Now I'm going to click here and disable the proportional editing tool. I'm going to go to edge select, and I'm going to go here so make sure that this is just looking around to make sure it's good as far as not having any issues with being pushed too far. It looks good. down some here. I'm just doing some minor adjustments. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to press A to deselect right there. We're going to go to face select. We're going to select here, hold shift, select here, here, and here. Then we're going to press E to extrude, just let it come along, no access. We're going to go to edge select, and we're going to push this edge in here like this. Select this edge, push this in, something like that. We're going to select this edge and this edge, and we're going to pull this out a little. Okay, we're going to go back to face select. We're going to select right here. We're going to hold shift. We're going to select here and here. We're going to press E to extrude, left click to lock in, and then we're going to pull up a little and out a little. I'm going to select right here, push down a little. I'm actually going to press S to scale in the Y axis, because I don't want this part crossing underneath of that geometry right there. Rotating in 3D just so I can see, you know, what's basically going on here. Okay, now we're going to go to vertices select. Just do some slight adjustments to these vertices. Select here, pull this out a little. Just holding the middle mouse button to turn the 3D view. I'm just trying to get a sense of everything that's going on here. Okay, what we're going to do now is go to face select. Select this face right here. I'm going to press E to extrude, which just created new geometry. I'm going to left click to lock in. I'm going to press S to scale down that new geometry there, like this. Left click to lock in, hold the middle mouse button just to get a different view. I'm going to press E to extrude, take this in some, press S to scale. I think that's good for that for now. I'm going to press A to deselect that area we just had selected. Okay, now I'm going to go to edge select. I'm going to select right here. I'm just going to push this in a little bit. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button, and I'm going to zoom back a little. I'm going to make sure I'm on face select, so you just selected face there. I'm going to select here, hold shift, here, have all that part there, good. Select all this, I'm just holding shift, selecting all of this area here. And I'm going to select these faces here as well. So I'm holding them in the mouse button as I turn, just trying to get a better look. I'm going to press E to extrude, left click to lock in. I just made new geometry there. I'm going to press S to scale down that new geometry. I'm going to push in some, scale it in that way. I'm going to press E to extrude on the Z axis. Oops, I lost it because there's no preview lines. I'm going to press Z again. It just brings it right back. Push up. I'm actually going to let it come through the top just so I can know where it's at. And then I'm going to press S to scale. And see, the reason why this works is because we still have it selected. So then we just push it down. Good. So I'm going to press A to deselect there. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button, just to tilt the view down. We're going to make sure we're on face select. I'm going to press C to select all of this area in here. right click to get out of paint select. Now we're going to press E to create new geometry. Left click to lock in. We're going to press S to scale that new geometry down. We're going to push in so we can get away from the sides there some. I'm going to press S to scale a little bit more. Now I'm going to press E to extrude on the Z axis. If it's wobbly, just press Z again. We'll do the same thing. We'll purposely come through the bottom a little bit. Then we'll press S to scale. We'll press S to scale on the X axis. Then we'll just pull up a little like that. Then we'll press A to deselect. Okay, now we'll press A to select everything, A to deselect everything, and that is useful for just making sure that nothing is selected. With face select on, we're going to select right here, hold the middle mouse button and take a look. Then we're going to press O to turn on our proportional editing tool. Then we're going to press G and then X, and we're going to push in this. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel some. Left click to lock in. Okay, now we're going to press A to deselect. With face select still on, we're going to select right here. We're going to press G to move in on the X axis. Then left click to lock in. Okay, we're going to press A to deselect. Then we're going to make sure we're on face select, and we're going to click here and click disable for our proportional editing. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button just to rotate the view. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. And we're going to select here, hold shift and select here. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. We're going to press E to extrude on the Y axis. Left click to lock in. I'm going to go to edge select, select this edge and push this in. So I'm going to grab here. It's hard to see that, but I'm pushing that in. And right, these faces right here, these are the 4 faces that are most in the front. It's kind of hard to see. This one is like sticking out. This one's leaning back. What we're going to do is go to face select. We're going to select here. Hold shift and select here. Then we're going to press S to scale and then Y axis 0 and then left click to lock in. Okay, now we're going to go to edge select. We're going to select this edge right here and we're going to press G twice. Now G twice activates edge slide in Blender. So we're just going to press G once, then G again, and we're just going to move this down. And from using that edge slide, we were able to, just slide this edge down to give us, more even spacing right here without really changing the other geometry of this tongue that we're forming too much. So now we're going to go to face select. We're going to select here, hold shift and select here. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to press S to scale on the Z axis. This, I'm going to go to edge select. Select this edge here, pull up slightly. I'm going to go back to face select and select here and here. Then I'm going to press E to extrude again. I'm going to press S to scale, no axis. Then I'm going to press E to extrude again. Hold the middle mouse button just to get a view of what's going on. Pushing it back a little bit. I press S to scale on the X axis, then S to scale on the Z axis. I'm just going to actually push in a little here. Then I'm going to press E to extrude. I'm going to press S to scale on the X axis. Left click to lock in. Okay, now I'm just going to roll the mouse wheel in. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to go to edge select. I'm going to select here. I'm going to roll in with the mouse button, hold shift in the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to hold shift to select that other edge, and I'm just going to push this forward, something like that. I'm going to select here and then hold shift and select here. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis. I'm going to zoom back just to take a look. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to go to edge select. I'm going to hold Alt, select this edge here, and just pull up some just to give some shape to this thing. Just holding the middle mouse button to take a look. I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, now I'm going to roll the mouse wheel in. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to turn. I'm going to go to face select. I'm going to select here, hold shift and select here. I'm going to press S to scale. Left click to lock in. I'm going to press X to bring up our delete menu. I'm going to choose faces to delete the faces there. I'm going to go to edge select. I'm going to hold Alt. I'm going to select this edge right here to select that whole edge loop. Then I'm going to press Shift S to bring up our Snap to menu, and then I'm going to select Cursor to selected. Okay, the reason that I chose Cursor to selected was just to put this 3D cursor here. What we're going to do now is we're currently in edit mode. We're going to click here. We're going to go to object mode. In Blender, objects tend to come in where the 3D cursor is at. So I'm going to roll the mouse wheel back. I'm going to press Shift A. This brings up our Add to menu. I'm then going to go to Mesh, UV Sphere. I left clicked on UV Sphere. I didn't click anything else. Now if you look all the way over to your left and you see this thing that says Add UV Sphere, you see segments. You're going to select where it says 32. You're going to input 12. Then you're going to look where it says ring 16. You're going to click here and change this to 12 as well. Okay, when we first began to work on the head here, we went to layer 2 so we could just focus on the head and not have to be concerned with dealing with the body. And as we work on what's going to become the eye, there's a cool option in Blender that will allow us to focus just on this eye, but also stay in the current layer that we're in. So if you look here where it says View Global Local, currently we're in Global View. We're going to click here. This is going to take us into Local View, and that head is going to disappear, and the eye is going to be there. The head's still going to be there. It's just going to be out of view, so we can focus on the eye. So I'm going to select this now, and now you can see we can just focus on this. So we're going to go to Front View. We're currently in Object View for this UV Sphere. We want to click here and go to Edit Mode. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to press Shift D, and we just made a duplicate of that geometry right there. A lot of times I'll pull to the right just to make sure the duplicate's there. Then I'll right click to have it to jump right back. With that duplicate selected, we're going to press S to scale 0.94 and then left click to lock in. And that just took that sphere. There was a duplicate, and that just lowered it down to 94% of its current size, which made it just small enough to go inside of this sphere, which is exactly what we want. Now inside of this sphere, that other sphere is still selected. So just knowing that it's selected, still we're going to press R to rotate on the x-axis 90. Then left click to lock in. Okay, so that last thing we did, we just took the duplicated sphere, which is still selected, and we rotated it. Even though we can't see it, it's inside of here, rotated. So we're going to press A to deselect it, A again to select everything, and because everything's selected, when we press A again, we noted now there isn't anything that's selected. Okay, this next thing I'm going to show you isn't necessary. I just think it's kind of cool. Typically, what I'll do now when I'm making an eye is I'll go to Face Select, and then I would hold C for Paint Select, and I would select all of this area right here, and then I would, hold the middle mouse button, turn to view, select this again, whatever's left, and delete the outside part of, this half of this mesh. The reason why you can't press, as far as I know, you can't do it, press Z, and then press Z and then wireframe is because if you did a box select here, you would select this outside part of this mesh as well as the sphere that's, going to be the eye underneath. So I came up with this little thing. I mean, it's very quick. I just think it's kind of cool. Okay, normally when you mark seams on something, you're doing with working with the UV image editor. However, if we go to Edge Select, we hold Alt, we select right here, then we press Control E, which brings up our Edges menu, and we choose Mark Seam. Then if we press A to deselect, we go to Face Select, hover our mouse here, we can press L, and now we select this entire bottom sphere, the front as well as the back, but we don't select the eye that's underneath here. So then with this bottom half of this sphere selected, we can just press X to bring up our delete menu, choose faces. Now we can see our eye right there. Then we can go to Edge, hold Alt, select this edge right here, press Control E, and to bring up our edges menu, and then just choose clear seam. So kind of neat, kind of cool. I thought I'd show that to you guys. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to select here to go to right view. And what I want to do is have this, what's going to be this eyelid here. I want to rotate this, but I want it to rotate on the 3D cursor here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here. I'm going to select 3D cursor. Now I'm going to hover my mouse here. I'm going to press L, which selects that all of this geometry here. I'm going to press R to rotate. Left click to lock in. I don't have to worry about the axis because we're in right ortho mode. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the middle mouse button and turn to the side. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to go to Edge Select if you're not on it, and we're still on Edge Select. So now what I'm going to do is hold Alt, select this edge so I grab the entire edge. I'm going to press E to extrude, left click to lock in. I just created new geometry. I'm going to scale that new geometry by pressing S to scale. I'm going to left click to lock in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold Alt again. I'm going to select this edge right here, and I'm going to press Control B. I'm going to pull slightly to put a bevel right here because I want there to be a hard line here. And to make this line particularly hard, what I'm going to do is, here's my bevel menu that popped up. When I press Control B to activate that bevel, I'm going to turn this up to 2, and then I'm going to select here and press 1. And then left click to lock in. Okay, what I'm going to do now is select right to go back to right view. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press L to select all this geometry here. I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate it. I just moved back just to see that the duplicate's actually there. I'm going to right click to get it to jump right back. Then I'm going to press R to rotate again. Don't have to worry about the axis because we're in right orthographic mode. So now I'm going to hold the middle mouse button and turn to look at the front of this eye. Okay, now what we're going to do is press A to deselect. We're going to go to Face Select. We're going to press C for Paint Select. We're going to paint all of this geometry right here. We're going to right click to get out of Paint Select. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button and turn to the side. I'm going to go to the pivot point and change it from the 3D cursor back to Blender's default pivot point, which is the median point. I'm then going to press S to scale on the Y-axis, -1, and then left click to lock in. And then with this area still selected, I'm just going to pull this back some so it's not, intersecting with this geometry right there. I'm going to hold my middle mouse button to turn to the side. Then with Face Select still on, I'm going to press A to deselect here. I'm going to press C for Paint Select here. Select all of this here. Right click to get out of Paint Select. Okay, and with that area selected, I'm going to press E to extrude on the Y axis. Take that back some. I'm going to left click to lock in. I'm going to press A to deselect. Then I'm going to go to Edge Select. I'm going to hold Alt. I'm going to select this edge here. I'm going to press Control B for bevel. I'm going to pull slightly. We still have the settings from last time. So I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press and hold Alt, select here. I'm going to press Control B for bevel, left click to lock in. The reason why we beveled this is because we're going to put a subdivision surface on here, and we want to have these edges close together so we have a nice hard edge. Same thing with right here. And we're actually going to put a subdivision surface on this now. And what we're going to do is we're going to press A to deselect. Now, one way to do it is here's the modifier button. We click here. Just like we selected mirror before, now we would go and select subdivision surface. That's one way. If I clicked here, it would add it. The way I want you guys to know how to do, as well as that, is I want to press A to select everything. Then I'm going to press Control 2. And that is a shortcut. And that shortcut just puts, the subdivision surface on. And it, already comes in with a view of 2, a render of 2. And then we... with this geometry selected, we can press Z and then select Shade Smooth, and then we can press this triangular looking button here. And now we have our eye there. Okay, so currently we are in local mode. We're going to click here to go back to global mode. We're going to click here to go to object mode, and then what we're going to do is press H to temporarily hide that eye. Now what we're going to do is select this head. We're going to press M to bring up our move to layer, and then we're going to select layer 1. As soon as I click this, the head mesh is going to look like it disappeared because currently we're in layer 2 and it's going to go to layer 1. So now it's in layer 1. The eye will still be in layer 2, which is fine for now. We'll click here. So now we can see the head is very big here. So I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to turn to the side. I'm going to press S to scale. I'm going to pull this up. Push this forward some. And our head looks off center, so we're going to press here to go in the front view. We're going to press Shift C, and what Shift C did was it put this 3D cursor directly in the center. Now our head isn't directly in the center. We want this head to be exactly center with this, and it's important that it's centered like that. So what we're going to do is select the head mesh, and we already have it selected. So with it selected, we're going to press Shift S, selection to cursor offset, and you can see it put the head directly in center, which is exactly what we wanted. So now we're going to pull this head straight up. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button and turn to the side. We'll push it forward so it's more into place. I'm going to press S to scale to make it a little bit bigger. Push it forward just a little bit more. I'm going to press S to scale, make it a little bit smaller. Okay, now that we have it in a general place that we want it to be, what we're going to do is we're actually going to delete our mirror modifier off of the head that we currently have selected. The reason why we're going to do this is because on the body already has a mirror modifier on it. So we're about to join this head to this body. Like the head is considered an object, the body is considered an object. So when I quote unquote join this head to this body, there's still going to be this space here. But after I do it, even though the head is separated from the body by the space, they'll both be considered one object. So when I click edit mode, we'll be able to work with the head and the body. Okay, so I'm going to, let me hold the mouse button so you can see what's going to happen. So I'm just going to press this X button, which is going to delete the mirror modifier. Then you're only going to see half of the head. And you can see when I deleted it, there's half of the head now. So to join one object to another object, you just have the object selected first. Then you hold Shift, select the second object that you want the head to be joined to. And then you just press Control J. Now when I press Control J, you're going to see the mirror modifier come back onto the head because the mirror modifier is on the body already. So I'm going to press Control J, and there you go. The mirror modifier from the body is applied also to the head. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're in object mode. We're going to click here to go to edit mode. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. Holding shift and the middle mouse button to pan. Holding the middle mouse button to rotate. Zooming in to get a look at the back of here. And what we want is we want to be able to bridge from here to here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to face select. We're going to select the faces here. We're going to press X to bring up our delete menu. We're going to choose faces to delete the faces there. Then we're going to select here. We're going to hold shift, select here, and select here. And then we're going to press X to bring up our delete menu and then choose faces to delete the faces there. Okay, you see right here, it says, shows the Blender symbol, version 2.75. See right here where it says verts, edges, and faces. I'm going to press A to make sure everything's deleted, then A again. Or A to select everything, then A again to deselect everything. If I go to vertice select and I hold Alt and I select here, there's edge loop. You see that right there where it says 7 verts? So watch, if I press A, it says 0 because there's no vert selected. But if I hold here and select, you can see that there's 7 verts there. So I'm going to press A to deselect there. Now I'm going to hold Alt and select here. And thankfully, this also has 7 verts. So because this loop has 7 verts and this loop has 7 verts, we can bridge fairly easily. I'm assuming that this ended up with 7 verts and this ended up with 7 verts just in a way that I tend to model, because I actually didn't plan it out that way. I was practicing for this tutorial before and I noticed that they were the same. I thought there was actually going to be a decent amount of work, but as it is, it's good. So we have this selected here. We're gonna actually, it doesn't matter, but I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold Alt. I'm going to select here. I'm going to hold Shift and Alt and select here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to press W to bring up our specials menu. I'm going to go to Loop Tools, and then I'm going to select Bridge. And it did a nice job, connecting that. So what we want to do now is just press Control R to put a loop cut in. Actually, we'll put one loop cut in here. I'm going to double click twice. I click once, moved a little bit, then clicked again. I'm going to roll. Sorry, I'm going to hit R to rotate. I'm going to push this up slightly. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel back to zoom. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom in a little bit more. Okay, now we're going to press Control R. We're going to put another loop cut in here. Left click to lock in. I'm going to press S to scale just slightly. Then I'm going to press Control R to put yet another loop cut in. Left click to lock in. It's movable. I'm going to move it down just slightly. Then left click again to totally lock in. So now we have our head connected to our body. Come along. Just taking a look at the body. And I hold shift and the middle mouse button here. We're going to press Control R. And I'm just rolling the mouse wheel to add in additional loop cuts. Left click to lock in. Left click again to totally lock in. Press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to roll the mouse wheel back. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. And right here, hold up. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button. It's like a little piece of geometry I couldn't tell was. Okay. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to click here, go back to object mode. We're going to select here. We're going to press Alt H, which brings things that were hidden back into view. We're going to press M to bring up our move to layer. We're going to select the first layer, and then you can see we're selected on the second layer, which is why we can't see anything here. We're going to select the first layer, so there's the eye. So we're going to make sure we're selected on the eye. We're going to take our manipulator, push it over, rotate the view just so we know where it's at. Then we're going to press S to scale. Left click to lock in. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to turn to the side. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. Pull this to the side. I'm going to press S to scale. Pull this back some. And up some. Okay. Okay, since we have this one eye here, what we're going to do is we're going to press Shift D to duplicate this eye. I'm just going to pull to the side just to see that it's there. I'm going to right click to get it to jump right back into view. I'm now going to zoom the mouse wheel back. I'm going to select here to go in the front view. Our 3D cursor is right there in the center. If it's your 3D cursor is like over here, you can press Shift C and it'll jump right back right to the center. It's important that it is exactly in the center. With our duplicate eye selected, we're going to go to pivot point. We're going to change the pivot point from Blender's default pivot point, which is the median point, to the 3D cursor. We're then going to press S to scale on the x-axis, -1, and then left click to lock in. And what that does is that takes this eye and puts it in the exact opposite place on this side. Okay, looking at these eyes, I want them both to be a little bit smaller. In the past, I would have probably deleted this eye, shrunk this down, and then went through the process again, made sure the 3D cursor was in the center, S to scale on the x-axis, -1 to put it back. However, now I know that what we can do is, select the eye, or select both eyes. I just selected here, held shift selected there. Then we can go to the pivot point, change the pivot point to individual origins, and then we can press S to scale. And the eyes, both eyes will scale down at the same time, which is pretty cool. So then we're going to click here and go back to Blender's default pivot point, which is the median point. And then I'm going to hold the middle mouse button and turn to the side. Let's select right here, go into edit mode, zoom in. We're going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to go to edge select. I'm going to hold Alt and select this edge right here, and then I'm going to press S to scale. So there's not space there. I'm going to push this in a little bit there. Just taking a look at everything here. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to go to face select. We're going to select right here. We're going to press O to turn on the proportional editing tool. We're going to press G so we can see the area of influence. The reason why we can't see the area of influence is because it's so big that we can't see it on the screen. So we're going to right click to get out of the proportional editing tool. We're going to roll our mouse wheel to zoom pretty far back. We're going to press G and we can see there's the area of influence, too large to see it in that view. So if you activate the area of influence and if you turn on proportional editing and you press G to see the area of influence, it might be because it's a similar situation like this where it's too big. So I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to get it smaller. I'm going to right click to get out of there. I'm going to roll to zoom in. Now what I'm going to do is press G so I can see the area of influence, and then X to actually push in here. And then I'm going to roll the mouse wheel just a little. And I'm going to left click to lock in. And I just pushed here so that this wasn't blocking the eyes. Okay, now we're going to press A to deselect. We're going to press Control R. We're going to put a loop cut right here. We're going to left click to lock in, left click again to totally lock in. We're going to zoom in a little bit more, hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to select this edge loop right here. I'm going to press G to see the area of influence. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom down. I'm going to press Z to move up a little. I'm going to left click to lock in. I'm going to actually select here, press G and then Z to move that up a little bit more. Then I'm going to select right here and I'm going to press G and Z. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel down. I'm going to select here now. I'm holding the middle mouse button to turn slightly. I'm going to hold shift and select here. Holding the middle mouse button to turn again. I'm pressing G and I'm just pulling out and down some here. I'm going to go back to here, select here. I'm rolling the mouse wheel in to zoom in. I'm going to select here and pressing G and no axis. I'm just pulling, what I see. Now I'm rolling back. And yeah, that's pretty much how I want it to be. Just about. I think I'm going to select here, hold shift and select. Let me zoom in and select here. Press G and move this down slightly, then left click to lock in. Okay, what we're going to do now is hold the middle mouse button, turn to the side, and we're going to press G and then Z. We're going to shrink the area of influence by rolling the mouse wheel. We're just going to pull down, and I'm going to roll up to just help me shape this brow. Left click to lock in. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button just to turn and take a look. I'm going to press A to deselect. We're going to select here, press O to turn the proportional editing tool off. Just push this in. Up some. Hold the middle mouse button. I'm going to push this back just a little. Just holding the middle mouse button just to take a look. I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to click here to go into object mode. We're going to select this eye and select this eye. We're going to press H to temporarily hide. Then we're going to select back on the main mesh that we've been working on. We're going to click here, go into edit mode. We're going to select here, go into right view. We're going to zoom back. We're going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. And basically what we've been doing is getting, a general kind of like shape of what we want for this Griffin's face, but now we're going to actually take the head and match it up to the reference image. So what we're going to do is press N to bring up our properties panel. And here we can see here's our Griffin side drawing.jpg. So we're going to select here. Now we're going to press N to take away that properties panel. We're going to zoom in, hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. Now we're going to press Z and then go to wireframe so we can compare, so we can see that there's some work to be done here. Okay, one of the things that I learned as I develop my skill with Blender is I tend to use Shift S to snap objects, and I also tend to hide parts of geometry so that they're unaffected while I mess with connected pieces of geometry. I have found that hiding geometry helps as far as modeling. It helps as far as rigging. I believe animation as well. So that's what we're going to do here. So when we look at this head and neck section here, we're going to have to pull this back, right? So this geometry right here, we'll leave this in view. But I would rather this geometry to not be affected. So what I'm going to do is go to face select. I'm going to hold control, hold the right mouse button, and I'm going to select all right here. And then I'm going to press Z to go into solid view. I'll hold shift and select here. Select here, make sure that's all selected there. I'll select here to go back to right view, and now what I'm going to do is press H to hide that geometry. And again, just so you understand, typically I would think of hiding it as just not getting in the way, but there actually is a huge advantage to not having this geometry affected as we pull and push this geometry here. So hiding things is a way of keeping this geometry that's currently hidden from being affected. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to press Z. We're going to go to wireframe mode. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is hold Control, hold the right mouse button, and draw a loop or lasso select around all of this geometry. We're going to pull this whole thing back. We're going to push this down some. We're going to press R to rotate slightly there. Push this down some. What we want to do is take this top part and line this up. So it's kind of lined up there. So we're going to zoom in so you can see what's going on. I'm going to press S to scale on the Y axis. I'm trying to line up the eye socket with that there. Press S to scale on the Y axis a little bit more. Okay, now we need this whole mouth part to be lined up here. So what we're going to do is press A to deselect. Okay, so what we're going to do is zoom in by rolling the mouse wheel. We're going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan down. We want to grab all of this area right here. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to stay on face select. We're going to hold Control, hold the right mouse button. We're going to try to grab this whole bottom part of this beak part here. Trying to dodge the tongue there. Okay, excellent. Now what we're going to do is see that the tongue there. We're going to press C. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button just to go to vertices select. I right click to get out of paint select. I'm going to press C again to deselect right there. I'm going to right click to get out again. I'm going to roll back a little bit, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to press S to scale. Now I'm going to click here, and I'm going to turn on the connected proportional editing tool. So it's a proportional editing tool, but I guess you should say I should say connected mode. So now I'm going to press G, and I'm going to move this back. I'm going to press R to rotate it. Press G. I'm just moving it back and kind of trying to get the angle. Now I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis. I'm going to shrink this area of influence by rolling the mouse wheel. Left click to lock it in. I'm going to press R to rotate. Okay, now I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold the control key and the right mouse button. I'm going to grab all this vertices and stuff right here. I'm going to press G. I'm going to increase my area of influence, and I'm just rolling as I pull to just get that general shape there. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to roll back. You can see this here, this tongue part. I'm going to press Z, go to solid view to take a look. I'm going to go to edge select. I'm going to press O once, that turns it into regular proportional editing mode. I'm going to press O again to totally turn it off. I'm just trying to get this tongue together more. I'm actually going to go to vertice select. Trying to grab a vertice right there. Right. Grab that whole edge there. There we go. Just push that down some. Maybe push it back a little. Select this edge here. Put this out slightly. Okay, now I'm gonna select right. Take a look again. I'm gonna press Z to go into wireframe mode. Okay, I'm gonna select this edge here. I'm gonna press O to turn on the proportional editing tool, G to pull up some here. I'm gonna select here. I'm gonna hold Shift and select here. I'm gonna press G. Proportional editing tool. I'm just zooming down to shrink my area of influence. Trying to get that a little bit closer. Press Z to go into solid view. I'm gonna hold the middle mouse button to look under here. Okay, I'm gonna go to face select. I'm gonna press O to turn off the proportional editing tool. I'm gonna select right here. I'm going to select right for right view, and I'm going to press E to extrude right down, left click to lock in. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button. I'm going to press Shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. I'm going to press Alt S. Okay, that didn't work. Alt S, just making it go up, which I don't want. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go to edge select. So we didn't end up scaling. I'm just going to push this in. And sometimes you just want to, vertice by vertice is your best bet. I'm going to Control Z, grab both of those vertices. This up. Grab here. There we go. Select right. Okay, what we're going to do now is I'm going to press A to deselect everything. Press A again to select everything. A again to deselect everything. I'm going to press Control R. Put a loop cut right here. Left click to lock in. Left click again to totally lock in. I'm going to select right here. I push this out and up a little bit. I'm going to select this edge here and pull this in some. When I zoom in, you can see there's a little bit of strangeness going on there. Zoom in very close, you can see that this edge needs to come down. So I'm just going to take the manipulator and push down. And I'm just pushing and pulling vertices here. That strangeness you saw there was polygons intersecting. So I'm going to select here to go back to right view. Okay, so what we're going to do now is press A to deselect. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to zoom in, hold the middle mouse button to rotate. I'm going to go to face select. I'm going to select here, here, and here. Select right view. I'm going to press Z to go to wireframe. I'm then going to press O to activate the proportional editing tool, G to be able to see my area of influence. And then I'm just going to shrink my area of influence. I'm looking at the eye there. I don't want to mess that up. left click to lock in. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to press O to turn off the proportional editing tool. You're going to press S to scale on the Z axis 0. Then left click to lock it out. And we just did that to flatten out that area there. So we're going to press R to rotate. Then we're just going to take our manipulator and push this straight down. I'm going to press R to rotate again. Then left click to lock in. Okay, now we're going to press Z, choose solid. Take a look at this. Okay, what we're going to do now is hold the middle mouse button to turn to the side. We're going to select right here. We're going to press A to deselect. We're going to press Z so we can go to wireframe. We're going to hold Control and hold the right mouse button and draw a lasso or loop select around here. And we're going to position this about here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go to vertice select. We're going to press A to deselect. We're going to press Alt H, then A to deselect. We're going to go to We're going to go to press Z, then go to solid view. Holding shift and the middle mouse button to pan. Now what we're going to do is go to edge select. I'm going to hold Alt, select right here. Just taking a look at this. I'm going to press S to scale. I'm going to push this down some. Okay, actually what we're going to do here is we're going to go to face select. We're going to hold Alt and Shift. We're going to select here, here, and here. Then we're going to press X to bring up our delete menu. We're going to choose faces to delete. Okay, now we're going to go to our edge select. We're going to hold Alt. We're going to select here. We're then going to press S to scale on the Y axis 0. Left click to lock in. Now we're going to go to right view. And with this straighter edge, I think it'll be a little bit easier to attach here. So what we're going to do is press R to rotate. Push this down some. Okay, now we're going to press E to extrude, R to rotate. I'm going to press E to extrude, R to rotate. I'm going to select here, hold shift, select here, as well as here. So I'm just selected here, I don't have the whole loop. I'm going to push this way. And now I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold Alt, select right here. Now I'm still holding Alt now. I'm going to hold Shift and select right here. Now I'm going to press W. I'm going to go to, with W brings up our specials menu. I'm going to go to Loop Tools. And then I'm going to choose Bridge. I'm just going to grab right here. Press O to turn on the proportional editing. Press G. Push this in just a little. Okay, and I actually see a little bit of distortion here, so I'm just going to go here. Make sure I'm on edge select. Select here, select disable. grab here, pull this back some, out this way some. Vertice select. Just trying to get these little bit of, see this right here, that little strange there. There we go. Vertice select. Okay, I'm going to press A to deselect. I see this right here, it looks a little strange, so I'm on vertice select. I'm going to select this vertice. Push this down here. Let's zoom in back to take a look. Okay, now let's press A to deselect. We're going to roll our mouse wheel in. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan, hold the middle mouse button to rotate. What we're going to do is go to face select. We're going to select here and here. Hold the middle mouse button just to get a better view. I'm going to press E to extrude, let it ride up on the extrusion. I'm going to select right so we can see our view here. I'm going to press S to go into wireframe mode. Okay, so I'm going to push this down and in a little. I'm going to select right to go right back. I'm just holding the middle mouse button just to see where everything's at. Okay, I'm going to select right to go back to right view. Okay, I'm going to press S to scale this down a little. Take the manipulator and push it over a little. This is a cool thing in Blender you might not know about. What we want to do is take this up and have it go along here. This being, you know, this beginning part of the wing. So what we actually can do is hold Control, and I'll right click while holding Control, and Blender will actually not just extrude out, but it actually turns the faces towards the direction of my mouse. So I'm just holding Control and I'm right clicking. Pretty cool. Pressing S to scale. Okay, now we're going to press Z, go to solid view, take a look. Okay, it looks acceptable. So we're going to select here, right, to go back to right view. Okay, so what we're going to do now is make some feathers to be put on these wings. So we're going to click here, go to object mode. We're going to right click here. Remember, in Blender, wherever your 3D cursor is at is where objects tend to come in at. We're going to press Shift A. We're going to select Mesh and Plane. We're going to press R to rotate on the X-axis 90. Left click to lock in. R to rotate on the Z-axis 90. Left click to lock in. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go into edit mode of this plane. Then we're going to press S to scale on the Y-axis like this. And what we're going to do is I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button just to pan. We're going to press Shift D, left click to lock in. Take our manipulator and pull to the side. And then Shift D, left click to lock in and pull to the side again. And what we're going to do now is we're going to press A to deselect. Okay, so what we're going to do now is hover our mouse right here. We're going to press Control R to put a loop cut in. Then we're going to roll once, twice, 3 times, and then left click to lock in. Left click again to totally lock in. We're then going to press A to deselect. We're going to press Control R, roll our mouse just 2 times for 2 loop cuts. Left click to lock in, left click again to totally lock in. Then we're going to press A to deselect. We're going to press Control R and then left click to lock in. For that, oops, I right click, left click to lock in it, totally locking in. Then I'm going to press R to Control R to put another loop cut going this way. So we're going to left click to lock in, left click again to totally lock in. Same thing here, Control R, left click once, then again to totally lock in, and then Control R here, left click once, then again to totally lock it in. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to press A to deselect. We're going to hold our middle mouse button and turn to the side. We're going to hold Alt, select here, and just push a little bit that way just to give this plane a little bit of 3D-ness to it. We're going to hold Alt here, do the same thing slightly. Hold Alt here while selecting that edge and pushing in slightly. Just holding the middle mouse button to take a look. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. Okay, what we're going to do now is press A to deselect. And we could manually make these into more feather-like shapes. However, like usual, Blender has a way to help us out. So what we're going to do is we are going to go to vertices, select, we'll pull up here, and we'll pull down there. Okay, now we're going to go to vertices, select, and just manually make these look more like feathers. This is the when I was showing you the loop tools and I was telling you that that you could manually make things circular. This is pretty much how it would be done. Just when you have things in a circle, which is much easier to just press W, open your specials menu, and choose circular. However, in this situation, since we don't want it to be totally circular, this seems like the best bet to me. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to hold L while being over this, and we're going to use the 2 sphere option that Blender lets us have, and to do that, it is Shift Alt S. You can see right there, and what's cool about that is it made this look more like a feather. This here, I'm actually gonna pull down some, but you can even see like here, and actually curve this out as well, and just save us a little bit of time from manually doing that. We're gonna click here, pull this up first, pull this down, and we're gonna press L. Another way you can get to the 2 sphere option is you can just put in search, and as soon as you put in 2 or 2 sphere, it'll pop right up, and you can just select right here. It's cool. It also gives you the Shift Alt S to let you know what the shortcut key is, and kind of like this. That's another thing. When you do it, you have control over how much. So you see when I pull to the right, it does it even more of a 2 sphere or spherical form. Than when I pull to the left, you can see it's reducing. So a very, very cool thing. So we're going to do it again right here. We'll pull this up. And the reason why I pull the vertice up is I find that it helps it to look more like a feather shape, like this. So we're going to press L, and then we're going to press Shift Alt S. We'll adjust it this way somewhat. Then left click to lock in. Yeah, I like that. 2 sphere is very cool. Okay, so what we're going to do now is press A to deselect. We're going to hover our mouse here, press L to select. We're going to press S to scale on the Z axis, like this. We're going to press S to scale on the Y axis, like this. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press L while hovering over here. I'm going to push this over here. Hold the middle mouse button to get more of a 3D view. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis here. Pull this up some there. I'll push this in a little bit more. I'm just trying to let it have enough space so it's not intersecting with the other mesh. We're then going to press A to deselect there. We're going to press L. This. Okay, yeah. We're going to press L over here. We're going to press S to scale. This up. Like that. Just taking a look at it. Okay, I want to decrease the depth of this a little. So I'm actually going to do that is press S to scale on the X axis, and you can see this has a lot less depth now. I'm going to press A to deselect. Whoops, A to deselect again. I want this. There we go. I want this right here. I'm going to press A to deselect. Press L here. Okay. Okay, actually what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press L here and L here. I'm actually going to press R to rotate on the Z axis 180, which just spins this around. Vertices select and select there. When I select this, see how that looks kind of strange? It's because the Blender is trying to choose the direction of the normal, so I turned it around because I want to see how it looks facing out. So to get that weird grayness off, we can just press W and then flip normals. W, flip normals. Flip them back here. Flip normals. W, flip normals. I'm also going to press A, press L, whoops, A, L here. I'm going to press S to scale on the Y axis. Okay, now with all that, I'm going to press L here, L here. I'm going to go to right view. I'm going to press R to rotate. I'm going to press Z to go into wireframe mode. I'm going to press S to scale. R to rotate. S to scale. You can see I'm just trying to, it's not going to be an exact matchup, but S to scale on the Z axis. I scaled first, and I did S to scale on the Z axis. Let's press Z to go in a solid view. Pull this over to this wing. Pull that up some. I'm going to select right view. And we'll start off with this one. So we'll pull this up. Press S to scale. So we're just using this as a general thing to go by. S to scale on the Z axis. R to rotate. Okay, we're going to do now is we're going to press Z to go to solid view. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate and then roll it to zoom in. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. With all of these three selected, I'm just changing the view so I can see how thick they are. I'm going to press S to scale on the X axis to take a little bit of the depth out of them. Okay, I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. I'm going to hold shift and middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to select this vertex here. Because I'm selected on that vertex there, I can press Control L and it being Blender will select the entire thing. I'm going to press R to rotate on the Z axis. I want this part popping out a little bit, but I don't want it intersecting with the other mesh. I'm going to select this vertex here. I'm going to press Control L to select the whole thing. I'm going to pull this forward. I'm going to press R to rotate on the Z axis. Okay, I'm just going to hold the middle mouse button and take a look. I'm going to actually increase the depth on this right here by pressing S to scale on the X axis. Left click to lock in. Just out a little bit, pull it up some. I'm going to right click to put the 3D cursor right here. I'm then going to click here, change the pivot point to 3D cursor. I'm going to press R to rotate on the Z axis. I'm going to select the vertex here, press Control L, then I'm going to look here. Press R to rotate on the Z axis. A little bit too much. I'm going to select here again. Press Control L. I'm just in this view so I can get a look. I'm going to press R to rotate on the Z axis. That should be decent. I'm going to click here and change this from the 3D cursor back to Blender's default pivot point, which is the medium point. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to click here, go into object mode. I'm going to zoom back. There's an issue here because you see this right here. This is the point of origin for this feather. It's definitely not good that it's over there, so it's fairly easily fixed. We just go to object, transform, and then origin to geometry. And now you can see the point of origin is right here. In the past, I was confused between the 3D cursor, which is here, and the point of origin. The point of origin, when we rotate on the median point, you know, when I press, I go to right view and I press R to rotate. You see how we rotate right on that point of origin, and there's a lot of other reasons why you want to have the point of origin be, for the most part, around the center of whatever object you're working on. When you're working with the point of origin of objects, there's exceptions where sometimes you would want the point of origin to be here, but that is another story. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to press Z. We're going to go into wireframe. We're going to press Shift D, left click to lock in. We're going to pull up here. I'm going to press R to rotate. Press S to scale. I'm going to rotate the other way just slightly. Push this down a little. S to scale. Just taking the manipulator and positioning it. It's not going to be exact, but we want it to be somewhat like the other, somewhat like the reference. We're going to press Shift D, left click to lock in. Take this up. We're trying to generally keep this around here. going to press S to scale. Just rotate it. Now I'm just pressing S to scale. Rotating again. Take the manipulator to push it up. And I'm going to press R to bring it back down. I'm going to press Shift D, left click to lock in. Pull this up here. R to rotate. S to scale. Roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. Pressing Shift D, left click to lock in. Take the manipulator to push up. R to rotate. Take the manipulator just to move it into place. Shift D, left click to lock in. Pushing this up. R to rotate. S to scale. Pressing Shift D, left click to lock in. Pushing this up. R to rotate. S to scale. Pressing Shift D. Pushing up a little bit. R to rotate. Take the manipulator and just positioning. Now what we're going to do is we're going to press Z to go into solid view. To make it a little bit easier to work, we're going to press N to bring up our properties panel. We're going to go up to our shading menu, and we're going to select this option, ambient occlusion, and it just allows us to see a little bit more of the detail of our mesh as we work. We're going to press N to take away that properties panel. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to select here. We're going to hold Shift and select here, 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 and here. Then we're going to press Shift D, left click to lock in. We have our 3D cursor here. So we're going to click here, change this to the 3D cursor. We're going to press Z and then go to wireframes. We have all that selected there. Then what we're going to do is press R to rotate. About like that. We're going to click here, change this to individual origins. We're going to press Z, solid, and then we're going to press S to scale. I'm going to take our manipulator and push this towards where that 3D cursor is at. Okay, now what we're going to do is press R to rotate on the Z axis. Just a little like that. When I select this light, pull it back so it's out of the way. We're now going to select here, hold Shift, select here, 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 and here, and here, and here while holding Shift. Okay, now with all of those feathers selected, we're going to press Shift D, left click to lock in. We're going to push down a little. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button so we can see the manipulator better. I'm going to push over a little, and then we're still on the pivot point for individual origins, which is good because we're going to use that to scale up some. And as we scale up, you can see this right here, coming through. We want to generally aim for this 3D cursor, so we're going to take our manipulator, just move this into position like so. Now we're going to click here and change this pivot point back to the medium point, which is Blender's default pivot point. Okay, I'm going to roll the mouse wheel back. We're going to press S to scale on the Z axis to about there, and left click to log in. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in, hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan down. We're going to select here. We're going to hold Shift. We're trying to select all of the feathers. I'm holding Shift while I continue to select additional feathers. So now it appears that we have them all selected. Now what I'm going to do is press Control J, and that should put them all into one object with that feather. So I'm going to press Control J, and now they're all one object. Okay, now we're going to add a subdivision surface to this. So what we're going to do is we're going to press and hold Control and then press 2. And now you can see there's a subdivision surface on that wing. Okay, and for now I'm going to leave the flat shading on there because I actually like how it looks. Now I want to show you this. When I rotate this, you see this right here? How the coloring looks funny. And again, that has to do with the normals, and it also has to do, I believe, because these are, for the most part, flat planes. However, we can resolve this issue of having this strange shading simply by going to our modifier panel and selecting Solidify. And Solidify is normally something that just adds thickness to objects that are thin. And you know, just by adding Solidify with the regular settings on there, it makes it so that, you know, it solves that that issue there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to select here to go to front view. I'm going to zoom back. We're going to press Shift C to get our 3D cursor to go right there. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button, turn to the side. We still have the wings selected. I'm going to press Shift D. I'm going to pull to the side just so I know it's duplicated. I'm going to right click to get it to jump right back. I'm going to select front view again. Our 3D cursor's here. What we want to do is pivot off of this 3D cursor. So we're going to click here. We're going to select 3D cursor. And then we're going to press S to scale on the X-axis, -1. And then left click to lock in. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to click here to change this pivot point from the 3D cursor back to Blender's default pivot point, which is the medium point. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button, turn to the side. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to roll my mouse wheel to zoom in. We've had the eyes hidden for most of this time. I'm going to press A to deselect any parts of this mesh. I'm going to press Alt H to bring back our eyes. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan. Hold the middle mouse button to rotate. I'm going to make sure I have both eyes selected. And with both eyes selected, I selected one. I held Shift, I selected the other eye. I'm just going to pull back. And I'm just going to push down like that. I'm just rotating, taking a look at the mesh. And it's looking cool. So we're going to select here. We're going to press Control 2 to put a subdivision surface. On here, we're going to press Z, and then we're going to choose Shade Smooth. Okay, now with this subdivision surface on there, makes everything smoother, but a lot of times you have to go in and do some tweaking. So with this mesh selected, we're going to click here, go to Edit Mode. We're going to go to our modifier panel, and we're going to make sure that this is selected. Just makes it easier to work with the mesh. Okay, we're going to press A to deselect. We're going to zoom in closer to this beak. I'm going to press N and bring up our properties panel so I can show you this. When I go to Edge Select and I select these edges here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put something called a mean crease on here, and what that does is that controls how hard an edge is. So if you look here, you see the mean crease, it says 0, right? I'm going to press Shift E, and Shift E is just a shortcut for increasing the mean crease, but if you look at that mean crease number, you can see it's going up, 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 and up. Then I left click. When it's, you know, fully this purplish color, then the mean crease is at 1. Okay, and when you select edges, you can either press Shift E for the shortcut and just push or pull with your mouse to adjust the value, or you can come right to mean crease in the properties panel and adjust your value right here. with edge still selected, I'm going to select here, zoom in. I'm going to hold shift and select here also. I'm just going to push this towards each other. I'm going to press S to scale in the x-axis a little bit as well. I just wanted that sharp edge, and now we have a little bit of bunching here going on here, so let's push that in. Okay, I'm going to press N to take away that panel right there. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm just going to put some mean creases in these claws. So I'm going to make sure I'm on edge select. I'm going to select here. Just selecting these edges all here. Holding the middle mouse button to turn. Holding shift and the middle mouse button to pan. And I'm just selecting these so I can, when I have them all selected, I'll put a mean crease on all of them. So I'll zoom back. And I'm going to press shift E and just push up. And you can see that just a little bit of sharpness there. Hold the middle mouse button and turn to the back. Okay, I'm going to select these edges here. I'm going to press Shift E and just push up or push away. Okay, now I'm just zooming back, holding the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm holding shift and middle mouse button to pan. Now I'm going to face select, holding shift and middle mouse button to pan, zooming in by rolling the mouse wheel. Just manually selecting these faces, these claws here. Holding the middle mouse button to turn. Now I'm holding shift and just selecting this bottom part. I'm rolling that middle mouse button to zoom back, holding the middle mouse button. Now I'm going to press shift E and push to the side. I'm also going to go to edge select and select right here. So I'm going to flatten this out a little bit. Holding the middle mouse button to rotate, holding shift as I select each edge. Still holding shift, selecting the edges. Still holding shift. Holding the middle mouse button to turn. I let go of shift while I was doing that. Otherwise, if I held the middle mouse button and held shift, I would pan. I'm going to press shift and E, push to the side. I'm going to click here to go to object mode to take a look. Okay, what we're going to do now to do some more fairly quick changes to it is we're going to click here. We're going to go into sculpt mode, and that sculpt mode is very nice because it allows you to make changes very quickly and fairly easily. So I'm going to select tool, I'm going to select here and go to the grab brush. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to turn, and basically the size of this brush, if I press F and I drag, the brush gets bigger. I push in, it gets smaller. So I just want to increase the thickness here. Make this a little bit thicker. You can see how easy it is to modify things in sculpt mode. Want the back legs to be a little bit thicker. See this, if you want to push the shoulders in, you can go to smooth, press F. A lot of times you got to be careful with the strength in here because sometimes it tends to be too strong, at least on something that's fairly low poly. But you can, you know, click and take away that edge, make it a limb match up with the body a little bit more by just using smooth in here. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to zoom in. Don't like this crease right here, so smooth takes that out very quickly. The front of this, I'm going to go to the grab brush. This bottom of his neck a little bit thicker. Pull this up some here. And hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm just taking a grab brush and just pulling, changing the dimensions of the tail some. Okay, now I'm going to click here and go back to edit mode. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to zoom in, hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan again. And I'm going to click this eye to temporarily hide the subdivision surface. I'm going to press Control R to put a loop cut right here. I'm going to pull this close to this loop right here. I'm going to press Control R, put a loop cut in the center, left click to lock in, left click again to totally lock in. I'm going to press S to scale down some. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom in a little bit more. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to press Control R to put a loop cut right there. Press A to deselect and Control R to put a loop cut right there. Left click to lock in, left click again, totally lock in. Now I'm going to turn this back on. We'll go back to object view and yeah, I just want a separation between that little hair tuft there. Okay, I'm just going to go to materials and turn down the specularity so it doesn't have as much shine as we look at it. It being the mesh. Okay, I'm just rolling the mouse wheel to zoom back. I'm holding shift and the middle mouse button just to get this whole mesh in view here. Okay guys, that's it for the tutorial. For all of those of you out there who like the videos on this channel and reshare them, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And to those of you who are new to this channel, if you like the videos on this channel and you would like to see more, please subscribe. Also, on the home page of my YouTube channel, there's a support button. If you click that support button, you can donate to this channel, and a donation of any amount would be greatly appreciated. It would just give me more time to work on more tutorials. And to those of you who have donated already, thank you very much, and you have given me more time to make these tutorials, and I really appreciate it. And as always, guys, thanks for viewing.